What is up, everybody? It's one of my favorite times of the year, the NFL draft, 24 hours away. I'm here with my co-host, P. Dunn. How are we doing, P. Dunn?
We're good, man. Like you said, this is the best part of the year. Got the best day of the year tomorrow night with round one, and then we get into the nitty-gritties over the next few days. So I'm really excited to see how this unfolds. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns. So we're gonna try and sort through that tonight and see what we can do.
I'm your host, Niko Chambers. What P. Dunn said, I mean, shit, I may like this day better than my birthday, to be honest. Dude,
This
we
is
cover
Christmas
this.
for us, man.
This is Christmas. When you're a kid, you like the regular season, you like the playoffs. When you're an adult, though, it's all about the NFL offseason, and it comes up straight to this point.
Yep.
I'm so excited to get into this. I've been working months. I know you have too. It's a grind, but this is where the moment comes where we hear the chime tomorrow. I cannot wait. It's going to
Yep.
be
I'm so
awesome.
excited, man.
And we're going to get into everything tonight. We're going to go over our big boards. We've been planning that for a while through our scouting. And then we're going to go into our joint mock draft where Peyton's going to do the odds and I'm going to do the evens. And we're kind of just going to lay it out. It's a little bit different when you get in the room, when you have a different person on the other side of the screen picking. So rather than obviously we've done our own mock drafts throughout the time, but we're going to try to get that feel by doing a joint one and see how that goes. This is my seventh year of doing mock drafts. I'm super excited. I've
Come
been doing
on.
this since 2019.
There we go.
Um, and it's been a minute. And, this is our second year of the joint mock draft. It went really well last year.
Yep.
We got a bunch of picks right, a bunch of spots right. Hard to do. Last year was a great draft, but, every year you get more and more into it. And I can second that this year. I definitely got a lot more into it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get this started. Um, we're going to go share screen and we're going to start it up um, with the big board. P Dunn, talk to me about your big board.
Yeah, so obviously, the way I did it is I wanted to divide Hunter into two different players. I wanted it to be known that I think he's a better corner than he is a receiver, at
Fair
least
enough.
now. So I have it like that. With our conversations we've had, I've been really up and down on Will Campbell throughout this process.
Yeah.
I like less than a month ago, I had him low 20s. And
Wow.
now I have him back at four.
Yeah.
With a guy like that, you got to trust, the mental side of things. And when you have somebody that's so special, whether he's guard, I think he's guard. I have it next to him. I think he's gonna be Clay. I just think he his potential as a guard is so high. So that's why I
Yeah.
have him there. Um, Other than that, I have Simmons at nine. He's one of those guys that the injury is so big with him.
Yep.
You need to have an understanding, and obviously we don't have an understanding. And so from what I've heard, he's done multiple workouts, private workouts with teams. They've done really well, and he has the best tape of any offensive lineman in the class. So with that combined, I'm going to put him at nine.
I think pre-injury, he's offensive tackle one, no
Oh,
question.
I agree. 100%.
And but the injury is just difficult. Projects late round one, could be mid. Well, I guess we'll have to see when we get into ours. But
Yeah, it's going to
um,
be really interesting to see how much of a impact that injury has and whether what we're hearing our gut is true or whether it really is the best kept secret of the drafts and he
fair
goes
enough.
to the Bears or he goes 11 to the Niners and just shocks the world. And
Yeah.
so I'm very excited to see that. On another note that's very similar, I have Benjamin Morrison at 15. He had hip surgery this last season. He's been a 3-year starter for Notre Dame ever since he was a true freshman. I think he is fantastic.
I absolutely love that man. He's one of my probably day two sleepers. I don't know if he's going to creep into the first round. Um, but dude's film is unbelievable. I watched this film last year.
Yep.
Marvin Harrison, complete locks. Marvin Harrison was my number one rated prospect in last year's 2024 draft. Locked him up on
Yeah.
all occasions.
Yep.
I love that pick on all aspects.
Yep, I think he's going to be very, very, very good. And then going down a little bit more, everything kind of settles in here. I've got Scorton a little bit higher than consensus. I've got Donovan Jackson higher than consensus, and then you get to 28 and 29 with Cam Ward and Jalen Milrow, and then you see a little
Wow.
bit of fireworks there. So I've got Ward. I don't do I don't boost quarterbacks compared to the other positions. I look at them as who they are as a player, and
Fair
then I
enough.
based on that. So
Yeah.
that adds more when you see Genty at 5, and it takes away from Ward at
Yeah.
28. So
100%.
I think he's really good, and I think he's going to be really good, especially if he lands with the Titans. And
Yeah.
so what that really says is how good I think Milrow can be. I think I think you know this, and I've been saying this since September, October when I first made this big board. He's been as high as 4 or 5 on my board at times. He is, and I it's starting to come out now. People are starting to say it. I've been saying it for a while. He's the best quarterback that has ever touched. He's the best athlete that has ever touched the quarterback position. And when you see these GMs that draft Anthony Richardson at 5, like you see
Yep.
what happens with these quarterbacks. Like this, he's the best. He's simply the best athlete. And so
It's
that's so
all
much
about it's all about who he gets drafted to. And
oh,
you see what happened with
100.
Richardson. They
Yep.
completely botched that. He should have
Yep.
went that high based on his combine. The wrong development will kill you and make it
Yep.
look terrible because Richardson had some of the same concerns that Milrow has in terms of kind of performance. He kind of didn't have many starts. Milrow has more starts, but he didn't have many starts. Whereas Milrow is just like, how shaky is he going to be? But the boomer bust potential is there. That's why I think you have to take him.
Mhm.
Um, Seahawks fan, I want them to take Jalen Milrow first round.
Yeah.
Do I think it'll happen? I don't know. But I think it'll be really cool to see where he goes. I'm excited to see where we mock him tonight.
It will. And you think about like how he's become as a player in his progression over the last few seasons. And everybody's clowned on him so much for how bad this last season was. But you think back to the year before where he almost got benched. He did get benched for Tyler Buckner, who's playing lacrosse right now. That's how bad he was the year before. And then he's made so much progression from then to now. To think that he has more room to grow, he has all that athletic ability. He's so coachable. Everybody on his team loves him. Like the upside, I think, is sky high, like higher as it could possibly be. And so I, I
100%.
truly, I truly trust that if he's in the right hands, I'm going to be regretting not putting him higher on my big board. So
Yeah, for sure.
what stands out to you? What are you seeing? Anything you
Stands out to me. I like I like the running backs. I'm really high in this year's running backs. This year, I mean, I think 2017, where you had McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette,
Kamara?
off the Kamara, Aaron Jones, Chris
Yeah,
Carson was in that one round seven. There were so many, and I know I'm leaving them out. That was one of the
there
most
was 30
loaded.
that year. I think there was 30 running backs drafted that year.
That was one of the most loaded in terms of talent
Yeah.
in the running back position, and I think this is like right under that.
Yep.
Yeah. What is your top five for the running backs?
Okay, so I've got Genty at 1.
Yep.
And as you can see on my board, there's usually most people have him as the third player in the class, and I don't.
Yep.
Um, I have
Okay.
him. I have him a little. I don't think he's generational. I'm worried about the snaps, but he's unbelievable. He's amazing. You
Yeah.
can't argue the talent. I've got Hampton in the same tier as him, just
Yeah.
below him, and then I've got Quinshon Judkins at 3. I've got Trayvon
Yep.
Henderson at 4. And then I have what's his face, the Iowa kid, um,
Caleb Johnson.
Caleb Johnson. I've got him at 5, and
Oh yeah.
I have a gap between. And there's the top two in a tier, then the Ohio State boys are in a tier, and then I've got a tier
Yep.
below that with probably 3 or 4 guys.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I like them a lot. But I think I really like Quinshon, man. I think he's probably the most underrated back in this class.
Yeah. Oh
He's
yeah.
got, he's got everything you look for a 3 down back. And I think he's going to walk into most teams in the league and be the number 1. So I
Yeah.
think he's very special.
That's the beauty about this draft. Really deep on the offensive side of the ball, but super deep on the defensive this year. I
Yeah,
really agree with you with your Nick Scorton pick. I
yeah.
really like him. I think he's my defensive end one, maybe not edge. I
Oh,
kind of classify him as a defensive end more, a little bit
yeah, I
more.
agree with that. I agree with that.
You got some really good edge rushers in this one, but I think he's better than Shamar Stewart.
Yep.
And then the Jack Sawyers, the Landon Jacksons of the world.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think
Do
he's a
you, do you have
phenomenal
Mike?
player.
You have Michael Williams as an edge, or you have him as an off
I
ball?
do. I got him as an edge in this one. I'm pretty sure. I think he's edge number 4 for me.
Yeah.
Where do you have James Pierce?
So I'm hard. I
That's the
have him
question mark.
off ball. I don't have him as an edge rusher.
Okay, fair
Um,
enough.
he's so hard because you hear like you watch him and you're like, this dude is fantastic. Like
Yeah,
he's so good. And then you hear all the stuff that he's the worst character concerns in the class. Like he's the
yeah,
worst football character in the class. And you're like, what am I supposed to do with this guy? So um I think I have him early round two. Here, scroll down. I think I have him early round two. Um I I like Ezeraku a lot. We haven't really talked about him.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I like Princely a lot. Where is he? Do I not have him on my big board? Here, go down, go all the way down to edge rusher to my edge rush rankings. He's probably in there. I think I have him pure talent. I'd have him at three behind Mike Green.
Yep,
Because I think he's that special. It's all the way at the bottom. Yeah,
there it is. Yeah.
James.
Okay. So
So I
five.
got him at five.
Don't hate it.
Yeah, I've got him in that tier below. Mike Green's really special, but again,
Yeah.
there's a lot of character concerns there. Um, Jalen Walker, I think is a poor man's Abdul Carter. I don't think he's anywhere near as polished as he is as Abdul Carter is, and I don't think he's anywhere the athlete as he is.
Yeah.
Shamar, I'm really high on Shamar. You know, when you look at his pressure rate, you look at his ability to win off the line, as much of a freak athlete as he is. I know the production's not so everybody's excuses. Oh, well, the production's not there. Well, the production is there, just the sack numbers aren't there. He's
Yeah.
producing at a high rate. He's getting pressure on the quarterback at a high rate. He's just not finishing the play. And I think that if you look at the trajectory that a lot of these guys have had, if you get them in the right hands, all you're going to do is teach this guy to get to the quarterback with the last zero point 0.5 seconds
100%.
of the play. And so I trust if that you'll see that a lot with the picks that we do tonight, whether he gets in the right hands or not. But I like this edge class is so good, man. I
It
mean,
really
I've
is.
got
Just the
Princely
defensive line.
yeah, a whole the interior is great too. Like I've got Princely at nine, and I love Princely. Like
That's
he's one
yeah.
of my favorite guys in the
I'm
class.
really high on Landon Jackson. His film is phenomenal, and
It
he's
is.
10. Like, it's a really deep class, and I think that I don't know. I don't remember last year. I think last year was predominantly offensive picks. I think it was like some
Oh, it
crazy
was.
numbers. The first
Oh yeah,
something 13
yeah,
something picks were all offense,
yeah,
if I remember correctly.
yeah.
I don't think it'll be like that this year, but I think this will be two-thirds of the first round will be looking at the defense.
Yep.
And I think that that's really special when you go into it.
Yeah.
So let's switch over here to my big
Mhm.
board, a little bit different. Um,
Oh, we didn't even talk about T Mac.
I know we did not talk about Timo. We could talk about him right
I've got
here, though.
him. I have an early second on him. He's not even in my top
Wow,
32.
really?
Yeah.
I think T Mac. Obviously the numbers jump out.
Yep.
And you know, you saw the thing about the whole film thing. I don't know when that came out about if you watched this film or not. I think
Yeah.
he's a great athlete, and I think if the right team gets his hands on him, they're just going to keep feeding him the ball. His 6'4" frame, um, and that's going to be something that's really special if he can really get with the right team. But at the same time, I don't know. They've been having him drop down on the boards.
Yep.
You never know. He could go late first, but he also, in some like mine, he's a top 10 player in this draft.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
his he goes anywhere from five to the Jags to early second round. You just like you
It's
have no idea what you're getting with him.
yeah.
I think like you said, like if he's got it's so important with the placement with him and where he
Yes.
ends up. Like you look at a guy, our both of us had Marv at one last year. And
Yes,
you look at
100%.
he is we I think we would both agree Marv's a way better prospect and a way more complete receiver. And with a way more complete skill set. And
Yes.
he still couldn't
He
with
hasn't he hasn't unlocked
Cardinals,
it
he
yet.
still hasn't unlocked it yet.
No.
And so you look at T Mac, who's a lot more one dimensional, who's not as great of a route runner. Like, and I don't know how seamless this transition is going to be. Like, you look at a guy like Neighbors, who's you plug and play him anywhere. He's going to be
Yeah.
just fine in any offense. T Mac, I don't think is that way. And so it's going to be really interesting to see where his landing spot is. I'm up with the Jags at five, so we'll see what
Yeah.
happens there.
The Jags is honestly with the new GM, the new head coach,
Yep,
one of the more
yep,
intriguing because you're gonna sit there kind of if it goes as planned, you have the top three, maybe even top four that is kind of like in a tunnel, and then five happens and you got five, six players, and now they're throwing in Ashton Genty in there.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
what? Like that's gonna be great, and
Yeah.
I cannot wait for you to cover that pick
Yep.
later today. Some other guys on here, obviously, starting off with Carter Hunter. I think that's the one too. Obviously, I'm really high on Genty. I think he's the best running back coming out of this class, and I think kind of really with what Saquon did last year, I feel like kind of that brings the importance to the position back a little bit. Similarly, Brock Bowers, that's
Mhm.
bringing Tyler Warren up for me.
Mhm.
Seeing what Brock Bowers did last year, going, I think he was 12th overall um, to the Raiders. I think more teams will take that gamble on Warren, who
Yep.
is arguably just as good as a prospect, if not better.
Yep.
Um, Contrary to you, I think Jalen Walker for me slides in a little bit more as a linebacker. As an edge, I really liked his film. I
Okay.
feel like, but at the same time, it's going to have to be, I think, probably the weak side linebacker. I'm not sure though, but just kind of, I really like his tape and what he does. He's a beast. Um, I think, but at the same time, you don't know where he goes because there's only a few teams that are in need for that linebacker position. So if you look
Mhm.
at him as an edge, he's going to go. If you look at
Yep.
him as a linebacker, he could, I mean, besides the Panthers, maybe the Niners, he could find a pretty good slide later in. I'm high on Will Johnson, I think, as the prospect.
I agree.
Um,
I
I
totally
love Will
understand.
Johnson. The
Yep.
injury, obviously, I still have him over Barron. But Barron, I think, in terms of a comp, I have a Devon Witherspoon comp, my
Love that.
Seahawks. The
Love that.
same comp, kind of. I
So
think he
good.
slots in as that slot nickel
Yep.
corner, can be that hard hitter. Really high on Jahad Campbell, also.
And
That's
you
just
see
a
him as a linebacker too.
I think I see him as a linebacker. I see him more as a traditional linebacker, where he could play inside,
Yep.
potentially outside also.
I do as well.
Um, and I think he's just a high motor athlete, who can get after him. Starting to go down here. My first wide receiver, after Tet, um, it's Egbuka. For me, that may be controversial. I don't know. I think I would put Travis Hunter right under him. And I would, if you're evaluating Travis Hunter as a receiver,
Wow.
probably I think he would be third for me. And
Wow.
then after that, you go Golden and Burden,
Yeah.
obviously. But I did really like what he does. This dude was very highly touted out of high school. People
Yeah.
forget that, because of just the onslaught of Ohio State receivers that come out of this draft process every year.
Yep.
Um, and for these rankings, these are more career wise, rather than a little bit more. They have a little bit more career implications on him. I think he's going to be I honestly think he's going to be the best receiver out of this class. When it is all said and done, I will give the prospect grade a little bit to McMillan, but that's why he's my second wide receiver on the board. I also don't think that Travis is going to go in as a receiver. I
And
think they're going to
you
value him
think
as a
the
corner.
Browns, and we'll get into this in we'll talk
Yeah,
about the Browns a little bit. We'll talk about it.
fair enough. Fair enough. Some a little bit more. All right, James Pierce for me
Well,
is 18.
okay. Yeah, go ahead.
That's a big one. I think just the I mean, before this year, he was the number one pick in the
Yep.
mocks. Like before anything happened, I think that talent you have to acknowledge, and I think that he will be. We always have the shock every year. I don't think it'll be Michael Penix type shock, but we always have that prospect who goes really early. A
Mhm.
few years ago, we had McDonald to the Jets.
Yep.
He wasn't as highly rated as James Pierce Jr. is, but I think James Pierce will go in the mid rounds, once we get into it. They have them all slotting to the second, late first in these, but I think a team will take the gamble
Yeah,
later
I
on.
think if I had you blindly sell me on Abdul Carter, like don't say his name, just describe him to me, and you close your eyes and you picture James Pierce, I think everything clicks. Like
Yeah,
coming into this season, he was the third player on my board. And
yeah,
honestly, he'd probably be top 6 or 7 if the character concerns weren't so bad. They're so
yeah,
bad. And so like
yeah.
that's gonna scare me off because like you that has such an effect on your career. But man, the talent's so good.
The
He's
talent's
such
there. It's a boomer bust. And we always go into this draft process. You think back to just the things that come out a few years ago, like way back. I remember Laramie Tunsil coming out. and they posted the picture of him, the
Oh
smoking
yeah.
thing.
Oh
That
yeah.
thing came out that dropped him. They
Yep.
tried to throw it with CJ Stroud a few years ago with his little cognition test. I don't even remember.
Yeah, that was wild.
But I think the right athletes and with the right coaching will make whatever character problems off the field worth it. So
Yep.
that's why I have him at 18 on mine.
Yep.
Kind of scrolling down a little
Yeah,
bit.
talk to me about Loveland at 22 because
Yeah,
I see Loveland as when you think of a tight end prospect, you've got a more traditional inline, which I think is Tyler Warren, and then you've got more of a slot receiver type that can also play in line, which I think is more of a Brock Bowers type. And I
yeah,
see Colston Loveland is a lot of that
yeah,
Brock Bowers-esque player. So
yeah, exactly.
talk so high about Warren at 10. What's holding you back on Loveland at 22?
I think there's just a lot of better, like just better players that are a little bit ahead of him. Kind of he has come on a little bit later in this process, kind of elevated him a little bit. Um, I wish I could put Loveland higher. There's just so many good prospects that I
Yeah.
believe are a little bit ahead of him.
Yeah.
So that's really the big gap between them, but they're close.
Yeah.
But I think Warren is just you see the production and just jack of all trades. I mean,
Yeah.
he's from our area, Atlee High School.
Oh yeah,
Shout
I
out.
forgot about that.
It's
I forgot about
crazy.
that.
Richmond,
Yeah.
Virginia. So
Yep.
yeah, so I'm rooting for Warren, but definitely for Loveland too. I think again, scheme fit is very prevalent with him. I think he'll thrive anywhere, but I feel like Warren will have a better opportunity of thriving in kind of any position where Loveland, I feel like, is more of if he gets in the right scheme, he'll really go.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it could be tough.
like you said, like when you look at the high of Brock Bowers when he gets plugged into that offense and he is the offense. He's everything as a rookie, right?
Yep.
And then you look at Dalton Kincaid, which is a
That's exactly what I see in Loveland if he's with the wrong team.
yep, like you
Because
like
I was
everything.
high on Kincaid.
He's so good. It's
Yes.
fluid. He moves like a receiver. It's
Yep.
everything should be so good. He's plugged into this offense with a great quarterback, great offensive mind, and then nothing happens.
Nothing. And he's now slotted behind Dawson Knox as the
I
tight end too.
I don't
They
know.
drafted him maybe to be that slot. They have a bunch of receivers in Buffalo.
Yeah.
A bunch. There's no solidified one, two.
Yep.
They're throwing out Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins. They don't know. Like they're just literally throwing guys out there, and
Yeah.
Kincaid has not stood out. So that's what worries me a little with Loveland as going in with the slot.
Yep.
Um, so that's what I'm hoping for. In the future with Loveland if he can really step it up. Little I don't know what else I got. I mean, I got Jackson Dart at 40. And then the controversial one, obviously, Jalen Milrow at 52. I think Jalen Milrow is a better athlete, but I think just those concerns, and obviously there's so much good talent. I think that'll drop him a little more. However, I think Jalen Milrow will have a better career than any quarterback in this draft.
Whoa.
Yes, I think he'll have a better career than Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, and Jackson Dart, or anybody
Man.
that comes after. I think Jalen Milrow has the complete opportunity and the
Yeah.
skill set to
Yeah.
be one of the franchise quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah.
If he gets in the right system, that's the biggest thing because then you're looking at what Anthony Richardson, which we just talked about, and I don't know how that career is going to pan out, but I hope that a team that cannot handle it does not take him.
Yeah.
And
That's a big
I think that's why it benefits him to go like be ranked later. I think of anybody in this draft, everybody's talking about the darts and Shadur. I don't even want to get into Shadur right now. There's too much
yeah.
going on with Shadur. Who knows
Yeah.
about Shadur? At
Yeah.
least Cam Ward's kind of in his place, but Jalen
Yeah.
Rowe, no one's really talking about him. And now the press is starting to creep up and say these things about him. And I think he'll have the last laugh in the end.
I agree.
Um,
I
so
agree.
yeah, a little bit into my positional. We'll take a look into that. This is kind of standard here for my running backs. You can see there I have the Ohio State boys really 3, 4. I really like Caleb Johnson. I'm really high on RJ Harvey as a running back 8.
I
Really like
love
him.
Harvey.
I think he's
I have
really
Harvey.
good.
Let me see.
Um, but of course, Scat, you got to keep him up there, and
I've got
Samson's a really
Harvey.
good
I've got
athlete.
Harvey at 8.
Yeah, so do I. So.
He's good, man.
Yeah, but he's good. I mean, that's a sleeper right there. Receivers, if you're gonna put Travis as a receiver, I got him as the 3. I got him wide receiver plus here, so it makes it a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
Burden, I think Burden is a really that's a prospect who the right team needs to get his hands on him to maximize him. But my guy is Trey Harris. out of Ole Miss.
Okay.
I
All
love
right.
that dude's film. I
Sell me.
really like that dude's film. And obviously, I just want to shout out to Ole Miss because everybody on that team is just really killing it in this draft class.
Oh,
There's
they
a bunch
are.
of studs everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
But I just really like what he brings. I mean, he's just a strong, reliable guy. He's not very flashy. He doesn't really have that trait that's going to separate him in the top 5% of the athletes or wide receivers in the league. However, I just think he's going to be reliable for years to come. I think he's just going to continue if he gets with the right team, obviously. He's just going to continue to compile just 1,000-yard seasons. So I'm high on him. Another guy, tight ends, Mason Taylor. Obviously, you got the bloodline. His
Mhm. Of
dad
course.
played for the Dolphins
Yeah,
as a D lineman. I think he's my tight end number three, and this is a very loaded tight end class. So
it
I think
is.
he's my tight end number three. I think he can do a lot of these things, and he could be a really premier blocking, but also receiving tight end. Um,
Well, here, go back up. Have you watched Kobe Hudson, the UCF receiver?
no, I don't think so.
Okay,
Talk to me
he's
about him.
my he's my receiver 10. Let me sell you on
Ooh,
my
okay.
Kobe
Sell me
Hudson.
on him.
I've got him as receiver 10, and then I have him at 71 on my big board, right behind RJ Harvey, the other
Okay.
boy. He's not a great athlete, so he's not going to shock you with his athleticism, but he's built like a great athlete. So you see this guy, and I think this is why a lot of people are scared of him. You see this guy, he's 6'1", like 180, 190, right? And you look at him and you're like, man, he's got to be good. He's got to be a burner. Like he's got that skill set, and he's not. But his routes are so good. His
Yeah.
routes are so precise. He's a deep threat. You remember a couple years ago with Jalen Hyatt, how he's like,
Yes.
I don't know how he beats everybody deep, but he's because
Yeah.
he didn't run a good 40. And Jalen Hyatt was terrible in the pros, so I'm not setting myself up well.
Hey,
But
listen. Hey, you never know. Russell Wilson said he's got untapped potential.
I
So
I believe
we will
it.
see.
I think he's Jalen Hyatt with a really good route running tree.
Okay.
And I've got him at receiver 10. I actually have Williams at 9, and then
Yeah.
I've got Noel at 11. So I've got him right in between
Awesome.
those two. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I had to shout out my boy. He's one of my sleepers.
Hell yeah. I love that. I don't know who else. What do we got? Oh, we haven't talked about interior. Really. There's not much that jumps off the page. Tyler Booker. I want my Seahawks to take him or Gray Zabel.
Yeah.
One of them. I don't care. We need offensive linemen. I don't care any of them. But I'm really high on Jared Wilson. Projects as a center. I think he's just a bulldozer, and if he can just go in there and do work, I don't think many teams are talking about him. On the tackle side,
Here, talk to me. We got to talk about Campbell. We got to
yeah,
talk. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard?
I
Because
don't
I think
know. I got him as tackle here. I got him as both, but what I like to do in these is if you're both, I kind of put you at where you played the most
okay.
in college. So this is less of a projection thing and more of kind of just where they slotted in college.
Yeah.
So I got Campbell as my one, but I got Armand right behind him.
Yeah.
I think he's my number eight on the
Yep.
big board. Dude, now the thing with him is he looks just like Mekhi Becton in my mind in
Hmm.
terms of kind of the draft position that he's being mocked to. Becton was like late, I think it was like 11 or 12 or 10 or something in there. Armand's going to be in that roughly around that if it's all said and done, kind of
Yep.
according to the mocks.
Yep.
Can they utilize him properly? Because you saw what the Jets did with Becton, and they
I
just
was
did
gonna
not
say,
use him.
watch out for Mimbu at 7. He might
Yeah,
go there too.
I know, and that's honestly where I think he should go.
Yeah.
But the Jets they just got to do a better job because you saw what they did with Becton, and he just won a Super Bowl with
Yeah.
the
Well,
Eagles,
that's the thing that
and
makes Mimbu so like you like him so much is you love the tape at right tackle last year.
yep.
You love the athleticism, and if it doesn't work out, you kick him inside. That's exactly what the Eagles did with Becton. He played guard. He was fantastic last year at guard for the Eagles. So
I think more teams need to do that at the end of the day. They kind of throw these athletes out there and they don't do good at their position and then they just kick them on the curb. And I mean, when you got a dude who can move men like that,
mhm.
you gotta utilize him, especially when he's a top 10, 15, 20 prospect
Yep,
going
agree.
into this draft. Defensive tackle. I'm high on Kenneth Grant. Obviously, you have Mason Graham, but his counterpart, Kenneth Grant, on the Michigan defensive line. I think he slots more as a nose tackle. So that'll kind of limit his teams. I think that'll take him. There's a few teams who still go with the nose tackle formation. So I think with the right team, obviously he can do some damage. But I do think that the defensive line, and we see it right here, um, it's really deep. I
It's
mean,
really deep, man.
it's really
Okay,
deep. I like Omar.
talk to me on Norman Lott at 10 because
Yeah,
I have him way higher than you do.
you weigh him way higher. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit undersized. I feel like
Yeah.
some of these guys have a little bit more boomer bust potential, and I'm kind of looking at the boom. Obviously, it's what I usually do here. Um, in these positional things, I'm kind of looking at the most upside they can have. He's probably more complete than Walker, probably Sanders, and probably Williams, and maybe even Alexander and Collins. So he could. Where do you have him in yours? Like,
I have him at 5. I think the pass
okay,
rush
yeah, there you go.
so good. The thing with
Yeah,
him is really, Tennessee rotated their defensive line so much. They were 8, 9 deep on that D line. And which is, I guess, what you get with Pierce too, because you don't see all the snaps. Like, I think he played a fraction of the amount of snaps as some of these other guys did. But I have him at 5, and I have him right behind Derek Harmon. I think you could sell me on the ceiling. I mean, the floor of Alfred Collins. You could sell me on the ceiling of Darius Alexander. I think his pass rush. He was so good when he was on the field. And when you get that out of a three tech, how special that is. I think you take that in the second round. Like he's
yeah.
such a game wrecker when he's on the field. Um, I think he's a really maybe not a special talent, but I think if he's going to be really good on Sundays, and I really like that prospect a lot.
You got I got 13 prospects, defensive tackles here. You could have them all going in the first 3 rounds. That's how special
Oh
this
yeah, I'm
draft
totally
is
with
for
you.
them. It's
Yep,
unbelievable.
yep,
All right, so for the defensive ends, obviously, defensive end is weird. Because I value them a little bit differently than the edge. You see the edges here. Let's probably
yep.
start with the edge. That's probably easier. Um, if we're going edge purposes, I kind of have the kind of consensus top five. Obviously, James Pierce, a little different for you. Um, what stands out for you here compared to these defensive ends? Do you have them kind of in a different position a little bit?
I have them in the same group, so
Okay,
I have them grouped together. I don't have off balls and defensive ends in the same
fair enough.
category, but
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. So I
and
felt like
it's so scheme dependent too. Like
100%.
I don't want to be the one labeling who's going to play where.
Agreed.
Because if you play somebody on the Cardinals, it's going to be so much different than when you play them, for the Jets or something like that. So I don't know. I'll tell you what, man. You having Pierce at 3 is like, it's like I want to so bad. Like if I was just evaluating the player, like
Yeah.
he would be so high on my board. And it hurts, but I think the biggest talking point here, and I think you and me both see this similarly, is Mike Green. I think
Yeah.
he is a lot. There's a lot of remnants of last year with Malik Neighbors and Marv here for
Yep.
me. I kind of see it the same way. I think Mike Green is very, very, very good. And he's getting overshadowed by Abdul Carter. I think he's fantastic. Swinson's a guy that's gotten a lot of love lately. Um, I tell you what, I like Quay Robinson a lot. I think
Yeah.
he's kind of been like waiting in the fold in the Bama
Yeah.
defensive line room for a while and kind of got his shot this year and made a lot of it. I think there's a lot of good tape there.
Not many
And
snaps, but
um,
those snaps, when you look at them, you can definitely tell that he's going to be a player. That's why he's on this ranking for me,
yeah,
even with the one kind of year of really just like truly playing.
yeah.
Um, that's why he's there at my edge 11.
I think in the late day or maybe early day 3, mid to day
Yeah,
3, I think he's gonna be a good pickup for somebody that's gonna get a
100%.
good player. Think of like um like a Booker from last year that
Yeah,
went to the Bears. Like I think it's that
yeah.
same type of guy. You look at him in the fourth round, and like I think somebody's gonna be really happy that they got him.
We may see him on Hard Knocks like we did with Booker.
Maybe.
We may see him as that impact guy. Linebackers, I feel like there's nothing really stands out that much with the linebackers for me. I think it's kind of universal,
Yep,
kind of down the board. I kind of obviously I talked about Walker is a little bit more of a linebacker, same with Campbell. So that's kind of there. Corners, I got your boy Benjamin Morrison at my cornerback four.
I love it.
And I'm evaluating Travis here as a corner, as the
Yeah.
primary corner. So I think this is probably rough where you want it. Do you have like a value corner later in these rankings? I ranked him to 16 because there's a lot of fucking studs.
If here, let me go to my board. If I was
Yeah.
to go off of your board, I would say Azaria Thomas. I think he's going to
Okay.
be
Yeah.
very good. I have him at 7, so I don't have him that much lower than you do. I
Yeah.
think Dorian list. I'm looking at mine. Dorian Strong is out of Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. I
I
saw him on
think,
there.
yeah, I think he's going to be really good in the league. I think he's got a high floor kind of guy. He's not a great athlete. He's not going to run well, but if you can look past that, and figure out how to get him into a man scheme, a press scheme, I think he's smart. He's experienced. He's played a lot at Virginia Tech. Um, I think he's good. So he's probably my guy out of Virginia Tech that I'd probably. Where do I have him on my board? I think I have him at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got him at 10. So I like him a lot. I think he's somebody that you'll again, it's gonna be later. Like it's not gonna be he's not gonna be probably a day. He might sneak in around 3, but I think he's gonna really contribute at the NFL level for some
Oh
people.
yeah. My guy is Bilal Cohn out of Western Michigan. Dude is just an athlete, and I kind of the corner position, you can get real value later in the draft. And I kind of look at Bilal Cohn as more of a Tyreek Woolen, maybe fifth round pick,
Okay.
kind of lanky, who can kind of fly. Um, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
love that.
he's kind of my value guy at CB11.
Yeah,
And then the safeties. There's some real good talent in the safety class.
there it is.
I like obviously you got the 1, 2. Who do you have as your one? Is it
I've got
Starks?
Starks at my 1.
Okay, yeah.
I've got it this top 3 the same way you do, but I think I have them all in the same tier. I
Okay.
have Watts in the same tier as I have the other two, and that
Gotcha.
wasn't
Okay.
always like that way for me because I was
Yeah.
always, Eamon Warriors had a crazy rise over the last few
So
months.
what stands out for you with Watts as a
He
safety?
is so stupid smart.
Yeah.
Um, and at that safety position, again, there's a trend here with me with looking at, maybe not the best athletes in the world, but
Yeah.
like I know he's gonna be a really, really good football player.
And coming from, I mean, you're from that football background. I haven't necessarily played football, but being in those shoes, you probably value that, and you can definitely tell when that's going to change a player. So I respect the hell out of that. But
Yeah, and
yeah, I think
he led. I think he had 12 picks over the last 2 seasons. Like he got whatever the college football the award for the best player in the country is. He got that 2 years ago as the safety for Notre Dame. He is fantastic, and I think with Starks and Eman Wari, I have their ceilings above him, but I think he might have the highest floor out of those 3.
yeah.
I think he's gonna be fantastic. I have an early second grade on him. I think he's
I
gonna be
mean,
very.
and then just down the line, I mean, you got some sleepers. Jonas Sanker out of Virginia.
Mhm.
I'm high on him. RJ Mickens, the family ties with his dad who
That's,
played for the
that's I like
Jets.
I like Mickens a
He's
lot.
built like a running back linebacker, and he's playing safety. And he doesn't have the best stats per se, but you can just tell when somebody looks like a football player
Yeah,
and who's just going to be a stud. And I see RJ Mickens as that. And Upton Stout
I
out of
like
Western
Stout.
Kentucky, I really
I like
like him.
Stout.
Honestly, looking at the film, he is honestly one of the best, I think, defensive backs who as a tackler.
Yeah,
Even though he's small and he can sometimes get taken for a ride. That would be the big question mark with him,
yeah,
and his height. But dude is just a flat out ball player. And I think
yeah,
that's what you got to value when you get down to these kind of value picks, fourth, fifth, sixth round,
yeah.
with
I've
safety
got
number 10 for me.
I've got Winston at 4, so I've got him a spot
Okay.
with you. I have
Yep.
him in a tier of his own. So I have him. I have the three guys ahead of him, and then I have everybody else below him. So I like Winston a lot. There's a lot of question marks. He was out last year with I think it was an ACL. You worry a lot about him coming off of that. But coming into this season, he was, safety two for a lot of people over Watts behind Starks. So
Yeah,
you worry about the injury, but the player, if he can recover from that injury, and again, like we were talking about with Simmons, like we don't know that,
you don't
but
know.
I'm gonna bet on the player if he comes out healthy. So
It'll
I like
drop him in these rankings. It'll drop him probably around maybe some spots than where he should have been. But there's no doubting the athlete that's there. And so I'm telling you, there will be a team who will get a diamond with him
yeah,
um,
I agree.
any day. I'm really high in Makuba out of Texas also,
Mhm.
and even Ransom out of Ohio State. I mean,
I
just
like
this
Ransom
really
too.
deep safety class.
Yeah. So
Um,
I've got Bowman. Did you watch Billy Bowman from
I
Oklahoma?
don't think so. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
he's my five. I
Okay.
think if you watch Ransom, you watched Bowman. I think they're
Yeah.
very similar. Kind of what you were talking about, like with Mickens, like you're kind of built like a linebacker.
Yeah.
You kind of tackle like a linebacker. And if you can get him in a role where you know how to work with that, and again, like he's so smart and he just
Yeah.
knows what he's doing. And I love players like that. I love finding roles for players like that. So he's my five. I think he's gonna be very good.
Hell yeah. Any last words before we go into the green room?
I don't think so. Are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll, man. Let's
All
do
right, let's
this.
do it, man.
All right. So the first overall pick goes to the Tennessee Titans. Peyton, you are on the clock. But before you do the pick, everybody thinks this is the consensus. You tell me, this is the question that has kind of arisen over the last few days. I want you to tell me, where do you think Cam Ward ranks if he was coming out last year in the
Yeah.
2024 class?
All right. Well, let's pull up last year's board, and
Hell
I'll
yeah.
go player by player, and I'll tell you whether I think he's a better prospect than before I even pull it up. No,
Reminder, we had five first round quarterbacks last year in the first, what, 12 picks?
I think it was six in the first
13?
12.
Yeah, six in the
Um,
first 12. There you
yeah.
go.
So
So,
no, he's not Caleb. No, he's not Drake May. No, I had JJ at 3 last year, and I'm
okay,
still very high on JJ. I think he's going to be
fair enough.
fantastic in the Vikings. He's not better than Jaden. I think I'd have him at 5 over Bo
I
Nix and Penix.
I agree with that. I'm not sure in turn. I think Michael Penix is going to have a hell of a career. I think it was the shock of the draft last year when the Falcons took him.
Yep.
However, that he is going to develop really well, and
Yep.
obviously Bo Nix is a stud. So it's tough to put him in there. But just like you, I would have Cam Ward under Caleb, under Jaden, under Drake May, and JJ McCarthy.
Yep. With it.
I think that's the money
Um,
move.
I think I think obviously the pick is Cam Ward here at number one. Not only is, that's what I would do, it's what they're gonna do. So
Yeah,
we're gonna take him here. If I was the general manager of the Titans, I'm springing this pick in with the idea of pairing him up with Callahan, getting him his Joe Burrow, having Ridley in place there. Like I know, the theory is that you build your team, then you get your quarterback. But
yeah,
you look at a guy, you look at what Mahomes had, right? And you look at like Mahomes was a good athlete, not a great athlete. He's not Lamar, he's not
yep,
Milrow, but he's an improviser, right? And he knows to work his way around the pocket, and he's accurate. High floor, a lot of variance with his game coming out of college, Mahomes, right?
yep,
Look at what happened when he got into a system that knew how to work with him, knew how to get him reads. Same thing Ward does. Ward, if you look at him, when you find those reads where he goes slant route, bam, that's it. Like he's a quick thinker. He was not always put in the best situations to succeed. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying Cam Ward's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but I'm saying if you figure out a way to get him just like Mahomes did into the quick rotation, into the quick reads, and then outside of that, let him do what he does with the high variance, make his plays, get out of the pocket, do his magic. That's exactly what they did with Mahomes. And if you Callahan, an offensive mind like that has done what he did with Burrow, like I think if you get him in his hands, I think he's going to be really special. I think this is a very, very good pick. I think, no, he's not quarterback one in last year's draft, but I think a lot of people are underrating him, underrating the arm talent. And I think a lot of people are really underrating the fit here. So I am full steam ahead on board as I can be with Cam Ward at once.
You're the music, first pick of the draft, Cam Ward. That's awesome. Now, before we go on to this, what does this mean for Will Levis, who was just drafted 2 years ago? Saw him waiting in that green room. I saw it today. One of two quarterbacks in the modern era to be taken within the first two picks of the second round. The other one was Drew Brees.
Mm.
That usually never happens. So, what does this mean for a guy like him who's still on that rookie deal? Like, how do you bring in another guy and keep his confidence or his value up?
I don't think you do.
Yeah.
I think if you, it's funny because he was also a Titans quarterback. If you look at the trajectory of Malik Willis and what he did when he sat behind Willis, a guy that was very toolsy coming out, was high ceiling, but great athlete, but wasn't ready yet. He sat behind Levis, then he sat behind Jordan Love in Green Bay. He got his time to shine. He was fantastic when he was in the game last year for them. So I
Yeah.
think if you can get Will Levis, if I'm like I mean, if the Steelers sign Rodgers, if the Giants don't, the Giants are going to get a quarterback. But I'm thinking of a team, maybe the Raiders. The Raiders would be fantastic. They got
Raiders, yes.
Geno, get Will Levis in, let him continue to sit, develop, and then maybe you find yourself a starting. You can get Levis for a fifth or a sixth.
You
And
really could. And you
really
saw what they
cheap.
did for if you go down the list, you saw what they did for Zach Wilson when they shipped him out. I think Zach Wilson is a very similar situation to Levis, where it's kind of just like turnover issues. But at the same time, I honestly think Zach Wilson's a good quarterback, and in the right system, he's going to be great.
Yep.
But you even go deeper down the line, you look at Sam Darnold, who is
Oh
my
yeah.
quarterback now.
Oh yeah.
But you saw what happened. He jumped teams. You saw Baker Mayfield kind of
Mhm.
jump teams. I
Yep.
think Will Levis will have the same trajectory. Will he jump back like Darnold and Baker did? That is to be told.
Yeah.
But he's kind of going to be in, maybe if he's not this year, he's going to be in what Zach Wilson is right now, which is that transitioning to being that kind of backup fringe starter.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm with it. He's
so
Wilson's. He's on the Dolphins, I think.
really,
Isn't he with
I
the
have no
Dolphins?
idea.
He's sitting behind Tua.
I have no idea where this
Mike
dude's at.
McDonald, like, hey, I don't know, man. I think he's gonna end up all right. I think he's gonna get on the move next year and he's gonna be good. So that's off topic though.
Those Jets quarterbacks, whenever they don't handle him right, they end up good. Geno Smith, another one.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
true.
going to transition here to number two pick, the Cleveland Browns.
Mhm.
Now, the pressing thing, obviously, the quarterback and the wide receivers are the depressing needs, probably most likely for the Browns.
Yep.
Quarterback, obviously, the whole Deshaun Watson thing. Um, what do you think about the Deshaun Watson saga? Is it time to pull the plug? There's too much dead money to actually pull the plug. So you have to keep him around for a year, maybe two.
There's got to be some sort of loophole you can do where he's not with the team, but he's still getting paid.
Yep.
He cannot go out as your starting quarterback. He was the worst quarterback in the year last in the league last year, like without question. You can't trot him out back there. Like I don't know. The Browns are they're a mess, man.
Does he have a trajectory to
No,
ever get back to
no,
where he was?
his career is over.
Yeah,
I
and you're
I
you're not going
I
to see him for the
wanted
rest of the 2025 season. So,
yeah, his career is over.
and that's the question here with the Browns. Do you take a quarterback here? Do you not? Now, if I'm sitting in the Browns GM seat, you got to think, what's the right pick versus like the wrong pick here? And I don't know if there's necessarily a wrong pick here with the talent
I
that you
agree.
have.
I
You
agree.
have Abdul Carter, you have Travis Hunter, Shadur
Yep.
Sanders, obviously in contention also. Our job is to pick is not necessarily the right pick. We're going to predict kind of what happens.
Yep.
If I was the GM though of the Cleveland Browns, I would go out and I would trade on draft night tomorrow night. I would go straight for Kirk Cousins, a guy who's
Uh,
familiar with Kevin Stefanski, a
yep.
guy who is kind of in a weird situation where he is. You're going to get him for cheap. You're going to have to take on some dead money or some type of his salary, probably more than half, is what I've heard from the Falcons end. Um, but you don't have a quarterback otherwise, and I honestly don't think you should be taking Shedeur Sanders right
I don't
here.
either. I
I
agree.
don't think that's the move. I think you have too much talent here. Maybe if there was an Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter right ahead of him, you don't take it. But at the same time, I'm not that high on Shedeur Sanders.
No, dude.
And I don't think
I
the
think you're
history
higher
of
on him
Browns.
than I am. I have a
Yeah,
third grade on him. I don't.
yeah.
I'm not that high on him.
I'm not that high on him either. But you know, the press is pretty high on him. I'm not really sure why
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's quarterback four. But I mean, everyone's going to say he's two. But without further ado, I'm going to make the pick here. I'm going Travis Hunter. I think this is the unicorn that you need.
Yep.
Um, and the big question mark is you don't really need corner, but you do need a receiver. You need someone to pair with Judy. Um, and that's the right track. That's, I think, honestly, the right pick. Abdul Carter, generational. I think he will have a better career than Travis Hunter. They just don't need it right now. They need Travis Hunter. They need to get Cleveland football up again.
Yeah.
And that's the tough thing. And it pains me to not pick Carter because I think he should be the number two pick.
Yeah.
However, if I'm going to be the GM of the Browns, I think Travis Hunter is the right pick here. So
I
put the
agree.
chime in,
I
and here
if
we
it
are.
was me, if this was a what would we do mock draft,
Yes,
I think we would both be taking Abdul Carter
I
too.
would be taking Abdul Carter too. I mean, you put him
Um,
alongside Miles Garrett, it is over.
dude, you can't
It is over.
it's a game wrecker. You
Yeah.
can't do like that. All that
Yep.
gives you three more wins every year. It's like it's crazy.
It's insane.
Having to think of two tackles, like try I crazy stuff. But
Can't do it. But we're
this,
doing this. This is if we're the GM of the Browns. Not I,
yeah,
I wish I could be the GM. I'm gonna be one day, hopefully.
yeah,
And then I'll make that decision for myself. But Travis Hunter, you can't go wrong with that either. So
yep,
don't hate the
yeah. Well,
pick.
that's
The
the other
pick is
thing
in.
is like you said, like there's not really there might be a better answer, but there's not a wrong
Yep.
answer.
There's no wrong answer here.
You are going to get
Whereas the New York Giants, that's where the
yes. There's
wrong
a
answer could be. There's a
really
really
wrong
wrong
answer.
answer. And we're
Yeah.
going to get into that right here with the number three pick, which you
Yep.
own. So you tell me, what's the wrong answer? We're going to look at the offseason additions. Obviously, Jameis Winston and Russell
Yep.
Wilson are under center now. We don't know who's
Yep.
going to be the starter. Should be Russell Wilson. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. Obviously, he from our alma mater, collegiate. He should be the guy in my opinion. But Joe Shane, I don't know what he's doing behind the helm. I don't want to criticize the guy too much, just in case one day we're in business with him. But like what I saw in Hard Knocks, I was not a fan of.
Yeah.
Honestly, with the way he handled the Saquon Barkley thing, and
Yeah.
he kind of just let him go to Philly and basically win a Super Bowl, and everybody saw what he did after that. That was your franchise player. They treated him really poorly. Um, so I don't know how much of a fan I am of him. I don't know if they know what they're doing behind the scenes. I've heard actually that they've been, I think, having disagreements. I think Dable quoted it as it's okay to be have different opinions. So I don't know if he's downplaying that or not. And then Mara comes into this. Does Mara have the final say? Who has the final say here? I mean, there's just so much about this pick, but I'm gonna let you get into that. You tell me what stands out at number three for you.
Yeah. So it everything is pointing to Abdul Carter at three. Um, every everything I'm hearing is Abdul Carter is going to be a New York Giant. And I think it makes a lot of sense with the Thibodeau getting him out, getting extra picks. To go back, I think what you said is really interesting, and it's a really interesting conversation with like who is making this pick, who is saying
That's
Fedor, who is saying like is it Joe Shane? Is it ownership? I
It
don't know.
sounded like now in the Hard Knocks with the whole Saquon thing, it sounded like Joe Shane had the reins because if I remember correctly, Mara was in the room and he literally said, "I'm gonna have a hard time sleeping at night if Saquon Barkley goes to the Eagles." And he
Yep.
proceeded to kind of and I don't know if that was an agreement thing with like, oh, he didn't think Saquon was worth more than 12 million, but
Yeah.
he kind of like let it happen. So
Yeah,
my question is that the last straw after seeing what he did, because he said he would have nightmares at night if he saw it and he watched him win a Super Bowl. So was
yeah,
that his last straw? And is this now his draft to
yeah.
go get the quarterback that he thinks? I don't know. And then of
So
course, other things I've heard trade back rumors. Like, what is going on in New York?
yeah. Well, if you think you look at the board, like there's plenty of teams that would love to come get Abdul Carter. You look at the Bears at 10 who need an edge rusher. You
The
look at the
Panthers, man. I
Jags
mean,
who could use an edge rusher, the
yeah.
Raiders who could get somebody aside of Crosby, like Panthers, the Panthers would kill to have Abdul
Panthers.
Carter.
I think Panthers, if anybody trades up and is in the prime position to do it, I think it would be the Panthers because they need
I,
it
I
the worst.
I'm with you. So there's so much going on there at three. Like if you are, right now, our job tonight is to put ourselves in the seat of Joe Shane, right?
Yep.
And if I'm Joe Shane and you're Brian Dayball, how in the world are we gonna go and take Shador Sanders and put our jobs on the line with that? You have two quarterbacks that will be able to win you football games next year. No, they're not going to be high tier starters, but you don't need the Browns need another quarterback. Like they can't go in with another quarterback next year. The Titans need a quarterback. They
Yep.
can't go with Will Levis. You don't need a quarterback. You take what you do if you want to save your career. You
Yeah.
take out Bill
I think
Carter,
so.
and the only thing that worries me is you have three sub 250 edge rushers.
Yes.
Thibodeau,
With
you have
Brian Burns.
Burns, and you have
Yep.
Abdul Carter, who are all
So
sub
you
250.
you you were talking about theoretically moving Thibodeau. So what do you think that package would look like? Do you think that will be done in time if they are I honestly don't think that this pick is a lock yet. Um and I don't even know what it looks like if Abdul goes to the Browns.
Here,
And I mean, I assume,
scroll down to the end of the first round. The last is it is it you know what it might be? It might be 28. Lions we'll move up from the second round.
yeah,
We'll pick swap, 35 and 28. We'll send you
yeah,
Thibodeau in the third, and
okay,
we'll look at Jackson Dart.
yeah.
And then or it's the
I
same thing.
heard I heard Dable really likes Dart.
There's so many ties there.
Yeah,
But
that could be.
that's where I think he goes. And then I think this will end up being Carter. I don't
But
think
if
this
but if they take Carter, is Thibodeau 100% getting traded tomorrow night? In your opinion?
either tomorrow night or Friday night.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the team.
Yeah. So Abdul Carter for the New York
Yep.
Giants.
Abdul Carter at 3.
Lock it in.
And now the draft really starts.
Yes, I think kind of you have the consensus top three. This
Yep.
is how it should go. If Shadur Sanders goes at number three, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I
It
don't,
just doesn't make sense.
I'll tell you what, I'll go to sleep thanking God I'm not a Giants fan. That's what I'll
Yeah,
do tomorrow night.
because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you're both on the hot seat in Shane and Dable. Like you drafting I wouldn't call him a project quarterback, but he's a guy who's going to need to sit, and you have great leadership ahead of him to sit.
Yep.
It
Yep.
would be the premier spot for Shadur Sanders, like
Yep.
for his career.
Yeah.
However, like no, like that's not the pick here
It's
because
not, and
Abdul Carter, if
he's
because Abdul
not
Carter does
going.
exist.
It's crazy. His like we were talking about with T Mac, like he could go at 5 and he could go at the
Yeah.
second. Shador literally goes at 3 or he
Yep.
goes outside the top 20. Like
It's
there's
unbelievable.
no
It's
in between. And so I don't think you take that. I think if I was the Giants, I'd have Dart and Shador very close on my board. And I'd
yes.
be comfortable with either one sitting behind Winston and Russell. And so I think you trade back into the late first, get that 5th year option, be happy
Yep.
with the one. And I think that's what the smart thing to do is if you're a New York Giant.
I agree with you. And so let's shift gears here.
Yep.
The Pats, the new coach, Mike Vrabel, familiar face, great coaching hire. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe Mike Vrabel did not have a job last year. That was just out of my mind. I
I
mean,
agree.
he's a great football coach, great
Yep.
mind, and
Yep.
going back to where he played football, that's a tremendous tie. I'm shocked how quick they moved on from Gerard Mayo, but at the same time, it's business, and when you got Vrabel there, you got to go get him,
I
especially
agree.
with the ties that he had.
I agree.
So is this the prime spot here um, for a trade back, or is there a guy that the Pats are just it's in their plain sight they should 100% take? What do you think?
I think this. I think this is a sprinting Will Campbell spot. I
I
don't think.
100%
I,
agree.
I think he is the most Mike Vrabel player ever.
He is the
Um,
most like Patriot plug.
yes,
Like this is
yes.
exactly who the Patriots should take.
I I don't care whether he plays fullback. He's the pick at number four.
He's got to be. I mean,
He's gonna he you can try him a tackle because you have no one else to tackle. I think he's gonna end up a guard, but let him fail at tackle first and then move him to guard because he's gonna be
he's
an amazing guard.
he's
Your
100%.
priority, number one, number one mission, go to sleep thinking about it is protecting Drake May. Go do that. Get yourself a high floor player with Will Campbell and you just go to sleep at the end of this first round knowing you got an amazing football player coming to you in the future.
Will Campbell, you are a Patriot. Lock it in. All right, the
Perfect.
big one, number five. Oof. All right, PDunn, you're on the
So,
clock. This is the one of the. This is this. I don't even know where. I think I've had in my three separate mock drafts. I've done, a post free agency draft. I've done a GM draft, which is kind of if I was the GM, what would I do? And then I
yep,
also did a wacky draft, which was just all over the place because that's just the NFL draft for you.
true.
I picked three different players. I
Yeah.
took I took Mason Graham on one. I
Yep.
took I think I don't even remember. I think I took him trading down to take Will Johnson and then Tyler Warren. So
Yeah.
if you are
Warren. Whoa. Warren at
like,
five.
I don't think at five, I think it would be a trade down. I
Oh
think I
yeah,
had
trade
them.
down.
I think I honestly had them trading at the Jets for something. I think some hell broke loose with this Giants pick. And I think I had actually the Jets going up to get Campbell after the Patriots took Carter. And then they traded down to seven and they took Warren. So you tell me, what's your thought process with the Jags? Obviously, bring it up again. New GM, new coach, your needs. You got need the defensive line,
Yep.
priority in the interior. You need a
Yep.
corner. You need wide receiver. You need a tight end. You talk to me.
Yep. I so to go back to what you were saying, if I was the GM, this would be Mason Graham.
Okay,
Um, I am not the GM of the Jags, and everything I'm hearing is they are going to take a skill position player here. You
I
think
think so.
you brought in Liam Cohen to save Trevor Lawrence's career, and you're going to get him a playmaker to settle him in even more. So is that T Mac or is that Genty? I when there's smoke, there's fire, man, and everything is pointing to Genty at five.
That would be
This is
insane.
this is another trade out spot.
Yeah,
Um,
for
but
sure.
if it's what we think is going to happen, I think Genty's going to be a Jaguar, and
Wow.
I think
Wow.
Genty's going to go five here.
What does this mean for ETN? Or I mean, you have
Oh,
Bigsby, who was a stud last year.
ETN is not stopping you from drafting Genty.
So you're gonna
It's
have a three-headed monster, and I think in this NFL where they don't
you're
value
not
the running backs.
you're gonna have a dragon. You're gonna have a dragon that has three heads, and you're gonna have one's a really big head, and then you have two small
That's
heads next to it.
that's gonna be hard to stop. And Trevor loves his checkdowns.
Yep.
He does love his tight ends too, but it looks like Ashton Genty.
It's
Wow.
it's gonna be Genty for me here. And I'll tell you what, the thought of T Mac with Cohen and
Oh,
BTJ
it's so enticing.
that is very enticing.
But they took a first rounder last year at the receiver
They
position.
did. And I think you have some other pieces there that you really like. You like a role for Gabe Davis. You like Parker Washington out of the slot. I don't hate their room. I think it'd be awesome with T Mac in it. And that's coming from a guy that has him early round two. I think if my post my if I had a big when I do my big board with team fits and team schemes, T Mac would be a
Yep.
lot higher if he ended up on
Yes.
the
Oh, 100%.
but this will be Genty. I think that's what's going to end up happening tomorrow night.
Ashton Genty. Wow. That is crazy because we did when we started this process, he was not going to be a Jaguar. That's for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
these last few days, I mean, just seeing him go off those odds, unbelievable.
yep.
So now we're on to the Raiders, the new regime with Pete Carroll.
Huge pick here for you,
This is
buddy.
a huge pick.
Yep.
Obviously, with what happened, they traded for Geno Smith. They definitely are in need of some skill positions. I feel like the Jaguars did not take Genty. plug and pick going to the Raiders. But at the same time, we're doing this mock and he's not there. So what will the Raiders do?
Hmm.
They need a receiver, that's for sure. They need a corner and they need offensive line also,
Yes.
in addition to the running back position. But I don't think they will take running back round one anymore. So that's the question. Like what's next for this Raiders? Now, I don't think this will happen, but Shadur Sanders is sitting there. Definitely a quarterback potential spot. Um, I don't think the Raiders necessarily need to with the extension they just gave Gino.
Yep.
Um, do
Agree.
you think that there's an avenue for Shadur Sanders to be a Raider?
If he has a Will Levis fall and it's a
Okay,
second round pick, then yes.
fair enough.
Even then, I would, if I was a betting man and they were up on the clock and Shador was there versus a running back, a Quinshon Judkins, or uh, a interior defensive lineman earlier, like a corner. If Benjamin Morrison's on the board, I'm leading. They're going to go somewhere else, even in a round
Yeah.
two. I don't think he's going to be a Raider.
Now the Raiders are interesting. We're gonna look at their actual depth chart, just to kind of get a gauge for what we can really um look for at this pick. I mean, you see the receiver room; it is not very polished. Jacoby Myers is
Uh,
there, but you don't got really much there. Your tackles, honestly, I don't know who DJ Glaze is. I'm gonna be
DJ
so
Glaze
straight
is
at.
fine.
He's okay. Like I don't know who. I feel like they do need a tackle.
They need a
Um,
right tackle. Colton Miller's on a contract year,
yep.
so
So that's tough.
you could think of the idea of maybe you know getting a tackle to replace Glaze. Glaze also has interior
Yeah.
possibility, but you feel good about your interior right now. I don't think Glaze starts if you draft Armand Membu. I think you put Membu at right tackle, and I think
Yeah.
Glaze pushed to the bench.
This is so tough because they don't really need a defensive tackle, but Mason Graham is there.
I know.
So
Dude, think
what
about that D line
that's
with
disgust
Max
like that's
Crosby, Christian Wilkins, and Mason Graham.
yeah. And I like Malcolm Kuntz coming off the injury.
I do too.
And then these additions, Jeremy Chin, Devin White,
Yep.
and Landon Roberts, like this is a kind of a sleeper just defense.
It is. It's a sleeper
Which makes
team
this
in
pick so
general,
hard. Yeah,
especially with
this
Gino at the
team,
helm.
yeah. Um, but at the same time, what do you do here? This is so difficult. I think I'm gonna go curveball here.
Uh-oh.
And they've usually missed this in the past when we have looked at offensive linemen, but I think Armand Membu is going to be the pick here. I
Yeah.
think they are going to pass up on Mason Graham, but at the same time, your priority here is to rebuild the trenches. And while
Yep.
they do have that on defense, they don't on offense. So I'm going to
Yep.
lock that pick in. It's
Yep.
contrary, maybe not their priority needs, but you don't got many tackles like Armand Membu who are going to be in this draft. So I'm
I
going to take
agree.
him with the sixth pick.
I like that. I think if it wasn't Membu, I think you got to look at a Will Johnson.
Yes, 100%. But I think just
Their
the injuries,
their
it's
corner
difficult.
room, it is, but maybe it's not even Johnson. Like
Dade
their
Barron.
corner rooms, maybe it's Barron. You saw
Yeah,
Witherspoon go six a couple of years
you
ago.
did.
He was going to be a primarily nickel.
He was actually my first mock, Jade Barron to the Raiders at number six.
I I really like that pick. So
Yeah.
I think that's where his range starts is at six. Their corner
Yep.
room is terrible.
This is terrible. It really
It's
is.
so bad. So they need players in there, but to pass up on Membu,
It's
he's
tough.
special, man. He's a really good player. And I think that you make you raise the ceiling of that football team so much when you get Membu in there with drafting JPJ last year, with extending Colton Miller. You have two bookend tackles and a great guard in JPJ. That's a great lineup for whoever your future quarterback is outside of Geno Smith.
Love it. All right, now to seven. Your pick, PDunn. The New York
Oh,
Jets. We got the Aaron Rodgers um, issue that's been coming around. Apparently, they just shipped him off, and it's Justin Fields' team.
it is.
Aaron Glenn now under center as
Yeah.
the head coach. They needed that very badly after
Yep.
the departure of Robert Saleh and their
Yep.
defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. So what is in the Jets' best interest at this pick? You see they need tackle. You see they need tackle. On both sides of the ball, they do need a receiver. They do need a tight end. And
Yep.
would you potentially look at Shadur Sanders here?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
I mean, you could ask there. I don't think I'm looking at him until maybe 21 with the Steelers.
Nope.
I,
I agree here.
it's just he's not. I don't think he's that good, man. I don't think he's that good. The Jets are tough in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
I think you have a really good list of options here. Mason Graham next to Quinton Williams in the middle
Mm,
would be
mm.
fantastic. You've already got a good D line. You've got Jermaine Johnson. You've got Will McDonald who are going good. Um, and then I don't know. I like having Will Johnson across from Sauce. I don't think that's where they'll go.
Yeah.
My eyes go to Mason Graham. My eyes go to T Mac, and my eyes go to Jalen Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
I think an edge would be crazy. Um, it's just tough, man.
Yeah. It's tough. That's what
I
it's all
think
about.
I think I think I'm gonna go Mason. No, we're gonna go Tyler Warren.
Oh
We're gonna
yeah.
get
I
Tyler
like
Warren
that
off the
pick a
board.
lot.
I'm gonna go Tyler Warren here. I think getting him next to Garrett Wilson would be fantastic for them. Whoever the next quarterback is, I think you got a really good player with Tyler Warren. That's going to be really good for your football team. So I like that pick a lot. And
Here we go. Number 8. The Carolina Panthers are now on the board. I think the obvious thing, it's just defense, defense, defense. In my opinion, I think in a crazy world, you are going offense here based on the Carolina Panthers defense in 2024.
yep,
Um, this is tough. I mean, you have Mason Graham on the board. But at the same time, with kind of just the way that they play the defense, the Panthers, we're going to look at it here. They got that 3-4. So I don't know how much he's going to fit into that nose tackle. Um, I don't think that they can take him here with how great of a prospect he is. So that just comes down to just what you like better on the edge.
yep.
Um, it's so hard. I mean, you got these edge prospects. I mean, they have, like I do, Jalen Walker's a linebacker. I think that's a big pick. He's from South Carolina. That's something to note. Um, and then obviously your array of pass rushers here. What would you do, PDunn, if you were in the Panthers situation? Who are you
If
taking here?
if I if I was in the Panthers situation, I would take Mike Green.
Yep.
Like we talked about earlier, I just think he's fantastic. I think he's so good. He's so defined. He's well developed. You know what you're getting. You've got all the pass rush moves. You got the pass rush plans. He's very very good. And I would have Shamar Stewart very close behind him. I
Yeah.
like Shamar a lot, like we've talked about before. Um, for the sake of the mock draft, though, I all signs feel like Jalen Walker right now. Like
I
this.
think so. I think so. I think that's what everything is telling me.
Yep.
And if I'm trying to predict it, I'm gonna pick Jalen Walker. However, Mike Green, I think, is the GM move. I think that's what you do.
Yep.
But for the sake of the mock draft, I'm going to take Jalen Walker based on just kind of just the consensus feeling. I feel like every mock draft that I've mocked
Yep.
has had Jalen Walker going to the Panthers, unless, and I think in one of them I had the Panthers trading up to go get Abdul Carter. So I'm gonna go
Before
Jalen
you
Walker
press,
here.
I was gonna
What you
say, do you think there's a chance they move out here?
do? I think they move out. Honestly, I don't. If I don't think they would move out. Who would you like to call in here?
I think the Cowboys could come up.
Okay.
I think the Niners could come up. I don't think the Bears would move up if Gentsy's already off the board.
Yeah, correct.
I think what you could see, one that I would keep my eye on is I would keep my eye on the Colts at 14 coming up for Colston Loveland. There's been a lot
Okay.
of buzz that they are all full steam ahead for a tight end.
They need one.
If Warren's already off the board, I think there's a panic button that they might hit there. With the Saints
Yeah.
at 9, Bears at 10, you know, Dolphins at 13 even. You know, you saw what happened last year with Smith. how good he was in that offense and that tight end role. I think the Dolphins could go for a tight end too. So I think the Colts would probably be my suitor there if I was to guess who would come up at 8 to go get Colson Loveland.
Fair enough. I don't know. Panthers could trade back. I just think they fall in love with the prospect Jalen Walker.
Yeah,
I don't think that we're going to have any trade ups within the top 8, which is kind of shocking.
it is.
Not sure what we had last year. I think obviously the whole Caleb Williams thing
Yeah,
with the Panthers pick was the big one. But I think Jalen Walker will be a Carolina Panther by the end of tomorrow night, which brings us to a pretty questionable one. This is a tough one. The New Orleans Saints at number 9,
yeah. When
with
we
their need for a quarterback, with the Derek Carr injury, with the new regime,
yep.
new head coach. Um, where do you even start, Peyton?
I don't know, man. When we first got on here and we talked about I'd have the odds, my first thought was, oh boy, I have to pick for the Saints.
Yeah,
This is
100%.
not a fun pick. Here, go back to all for me, all the prospects,
On
um,
yours or mine?
on yours. And then let's see. Oh no, I meant go on the mock draft simulator.
Oh,
So
I
like
got
you
you.
were on the defense tab.
I got you.
There we go. So Mason Graham being here is interesting.
Yeah,
You want BPA. I don't think it's close between him and any other player on the board right now. Um, you know, I don't think T Mac is interesting
yeah.
because
That's been the big one.
because Chris Olave I think is good. Obviously, they play very different positions, but he he's had an alarming amount of concussions over the last few years, and
They
I'm
just picked up his option today. That's something to
okay.
note.
I
They
didn't see
just picked
that.
up his 5th year option
I didn't
today.
see that.
Yeah, I just saw that from Shefty. So,
I don't think that changes my pick. I don't think I'm gonna go T Mac at 9. I think I'm between Graham. I'm between Michael Williams
okay, yes.
and let me throw you a curveball here.
What you got?
Kelvin Banks.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, does that mean you see him as a guard? I mean, they just drafted
So
Trevor Penning a
here's
few years
here's
ago, and
here's your
Talise.
thing. You want to talk about who got their 5th year deal rejected today was Trevor
Oh,
Penning got his
there you go.
rejected.
He had
So
a rough. He had a rough few. He had a
it's
rough
been
last year,
really
really.
bad for
Yeah,
him. And them getting rid of that 5th year option just proves that he's done for them.
yeah, for pretty
So
much.
keep in mind, Fuaga was fine last year, but he was a right tackle coming out of college.
Yes.
Kelvin Banks, you can put him at left. You might mess with Fuaga's head, but he goes back to where he's at home on the right side.
Yep.
I I think that's
Ramsdale retired too, so that guard
yeah,
position.
yeah. I mean, you go back to like, okay, then who's playing quarterback?
Yeah,
I don't think Rattler's terrible.
I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's
Situation to
serviceable
win right
though.
now. I don't think
Yeah,
he's ready to go win. I think you build up these trenches. I think you go get. I think this. I think they'll. I'm stuck because I think they might go edge. I don't think they'll go T Mac. I know they're not going Shador.
yeah.
I've heard
We'll
that a
see. I
lot. That
mean,
they are
a
very
lot
anti
of a
Shador.
lot of mocks for Shadur. I don't know where else Shadur would freaking go. I mean,
I haven't. I've heard they are very much not taking Shador. Now that could be a
yeah,
spokesman, but that's what I've heard, and I've heard very strong no from the Saints. So I'm held up. I know they like the edge class a lot. I'm gonna go Kelvin Banks here, man.
yeah.
I'm,
I like that
I'm gonna
pick.
take I'm gonna take Banks here at 9. I think it
It's
makes a lot of sense for them and where they're at right now.
the right pick. I think so. So the unique part of this draft, Peyton here,
Yeah,
Bears fan. So he's gonna take number 10 for his team. So walk me through what you see for this Bears team, which is probably more dependent on the trenches
yep.
in terms of needs. They're pretty polished all around overall. They're going to be one of the high risers in terms of more complete teams, and they're going to make the jump this year. I think that kind of the Commanders did last year in a sense, but they have a more complete team. They do need a running back, and they don't really need it, but with Ben Johnson in house, they need it.
Yeah.
So you walk me through what the Bears should do here at 10.
Well, what they should do is they should take Mike Green.
Okay.
Um, and if they don't take Mike Green, they should take Mason Graham.
Yep.
What they're going to do is they're going to take Amari Hampton. Amari Hampton is going to be a Bear, especially if Gentsy's not there. Everything I'm hearing about them, every single thing I hear is they're actively trying to trade up to get Genty, and they
Yep.
really like Amari Hampton. If Amari Hampton's here on the board, I think he's very underrated. And it's crazy to say that because I think some people are starting to give him respect that I think he deserves. Again, we talk about Marv and Neighbors from last year. I think it's a very similar conversation. Um, Not to the scale. I don't think he's as close as Neighbor was. I had Malik Neighbors as my third player last year. And so Hampton's probably, I think he's 12 for me, but he's fantastic. The Bears are very high on him. If he's here and Jensen's not on the board, Amar and Hampton will be a Bear. I can, I feel very confident saying that.
This is what I had. I also had this pick in my GM draft. I had them trading down with the Colts, who traded up for Warren, and then they took him at 14. I love this pick, honestly. I think you really can't go wrong. I think the Bears are in a premier position where they don't need any of these guys that are right in front of them. They need to go with what's best for them and their scheme. And I think Hampton gives you that best option.
Yep, it's
And
hard. It
this is
was
the
very
nightmare scenario right here with the Niners as a Seahawks fan that I do not want, but I will let you take it away. You tell me, PDunn, what will the Niners do at 11?
well. It's crazy. It was crazy seeing them at 11.
Yeah.
How bad they were last year. And
Yep.
it's even weirder going through this process we've been going through and looking at their roster and being like, they need a lot,
They do need a lot.
a lot of positions. And to
They
the
do.
point where Mason Graham
Yeah.
pick would automatically be their number one interior defensive lineman. They need another edge outside of Bosa. They need another corner. And I just, I'm, I'm definitely struggling. You think about Kittle. If Kittle leaves
Yeah.
next year, what happens with him? Does he? Do they maybe think about an insurance plan, knowing how important he's been to that offense? I don't know.
It's a
I can
deep
tell
tight end
you,
class. I'll say that. I don't know though. This is
I don't think they're going to take him here. I just think it's crazy how fast that happened. So
their window is closed. Can we agree on that?
yes, their window is
Yes,
closed,
their
and
window
it's
is
all because
closed.
we're about to pay Brock Purdy way too much money.
Yeah, I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, to be honest.
I
And
don't either. And you lost Debo, you're about to lose
yeah,
C, and Lord knows what's happening with Ayuk, and you're about to lose King
yeah.
too. So it's just gonna be him figuring it out. Like you,
I gotta love that downfall. I gotta love
yeah,
it.
I know you do. I know you do. So with all that being said, for this pick, I am there's three players I'm looking at. I'm looking at Mason Graham. I am looking at Shamar Stewart, and I'm looking at Jade Barron. So, I the reason I like Barron so much is because you look at the scheme that Salah runs. Barron is a perfect scheme fit for Salah in that defense. You get Salah back and reunited in the Niners.
Yep.
Get him with a good, solid corner that you know he can trust. I think I think he's going to want that pick. On the other hand, Mason Graham, I don't think falls farther than this.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, I think if he's there, I think they take him. This is going to be as much as I love those ideas, and I would love the idea of Bosa paired up with Shamar Stewart. This is going to be
Yeah.
Mason Graham. He's automatically their interior defensive one. It's a fantastic pairing in that solid defense. It's a fantastic player. Um, it just all makes sense. So this is going to be Mason Graham here at 11 going to the Niners. The rich.
Lock it in.
or I guess the poor get rich now.
I can't believe he dropped that far, to be honest. But I mean, just you
I
can see
can't
the
either.
way it plays out, and
That's
there's
the
always going to
part
be
of
an
it.
odd
That's
man
the,
out.
hey, it's somebody has to fall.
It's somebody, and
Somebody,
it's him.
not
It's
everybody
crazy
gets picked.
enough.
So
I think he was number 5 on my board. I mean,
he's up there for me
that's
too.
remarkable value.
Yeah.
They get him at number 11.
Yep.
So now we transition to the Cowboys, which is honestly like a really also interesting pick. Um, because they don't have like a dire need. They just
Yeah.
have a lot of holes. And what you fill it in with what you have here is the biggest question. Running back, I think, is off the table with the top two
I
being
agree.
here. It's too high to take a running back.
Totally.
I don't think their running back room is, by the way, that bad with what they added with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's terrible. I think that that's serviceable. It's way better than what they had last year.
Agreed.
So we'll see what America's team's got. But this is tough. I mean, if you look at their needs, let's look at their needs and see what they got. Um, I think receiver comes off the board. That's the attractive move. I've seen Matthew Golden. I've seen them pick Golden in almost every mock draft over Tet,
Yeah.
which I don't agree with at all. But I think if you put Tet in this system, I think he would be really good alongside CeeDee Lamb.
I totally
However,
agree.
like it would just be just a match made in heaven. However, you look at kind of this defense. I don't think it's not too terrible. Not many holes. You could make a case for a corner. You could make a case, probably more of a case for that edge piece.
Yeah.
Um, you know that they're notorious for taking their defensive tackles in every first round, I swear.
I just
Um,
don't think they go
I
defense.
don't yeah, I don't know. I don't think so either. With the way that it's trending, even with Mike Green being on the board, such a high prospect there, even with Will Johnson and Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
I think now my job is to pick what they're gonna do,
Yeah.
not what they
Get in
should
Jerry
do,
Judy's
technically.
mind. The
Like
hardest thing in sports.
it's hard. Like I think the easiest answer here is McMillan,
I
but
agree.
I don't know what Jerry Jones is doing,
Yeah.
and I feel closer and closer like it's gonna be Matthew Golden for some reason. Um, and that wouldn't be a bad pick. It would be a little bit of a head scratch for me in my rankings. But I'm gonna go with Matthew Golden because I just think that's what they're gonna do. Being from Texas, I don't know. Like I have a feeling that he will be there. He's been mocked there more than anybody, and they met with him obviously in the top 30 visits. They seem to love this dude, and I think if you pair him with CD Lamb, that'll be a great combo.
Yeah.
Um,
Do
I
you
don't think
think
you
that
really can go
Zach
wrong.
Martin retiring would lead them to go interior offensive line?
Interior, Tyler
Now,
Booker, that is definitely an option. I feel like
Booker
maybe
I've
it's a little
seen.
too high.
Booker I've seen here. And again, like it seems high for us because neither of us are
Yeah.
that high on him. But if you think about the Cowboys, like he fits their scheme.
Yeah.
He's a power blocker. He's I think I think it makes sense. I don't think it stops him from going receiver, but
Yeah.
I think it's something to keep our eye on over the next
I
couple of
definitely think so too. I'm pretty sure I had them mocked to get him in one of my other mock drafts. I think it's my wacky draft, just
yeah.
throwing out all a bunch of things out there. But I do think that they go golden here. I'm not sure if I like it. It's probably, in my opinion, I of all the picks that we've made so far, it's probably the one I like the least, but I think it's
Still
the
take
most
gold
likely to
over T-Mac.
happen. I would pick T-Mac 10 times out of 10 over Golden.
I think they will
Um,
too. I think they
I
take
don't know. I
really.
hope they do. I hope they do because that would be crazy. But
I
this,
think Golden and CD Lamb have too much the same skill set. I
I
think they
agree.
I think they would, especially with a new offensive mind or their own offensive mind coming in. I guess they just promoted him from OC.
Yeah,
I I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting to see what they do. I think you're right though. I think if either of these guys are available, I think they'll go receiver.
they got to go receiver here, and I mean, they might shock the world and go with Buka here. I mean, who knows?
I don't
Um,
know.
that would be bad. But I'm gonna stick with Matthew
Like it.
Golden here, at 12, which brings us up the Miami Dolphins, who have a bunch of needs themselves, really, at
Really?
corner,
Okay.
tackle. on the defensive side, maybe an interior offensive lineman, safety, all those of such. So PDunn, you run me through what you got on these Dolphins as we pull up what their depth chart is looking like for 25.
Yeah, I think I think they've done a terrible job of building this team over the last few years.
It
I
just doesn't make sense. Like,
The team building has been terrible. They don't invest in their offensive line. They let their two best interior offensive line walk a couple of years ago. They just had the retirement. And now, you let what's that safety? What's their safety that left?
Holland.
Yes, Javon Holland. He left. Like, I don't understand the moves they're making. It seems like he thinks that you just get faster and then everything's going to figure
Yeah.
itself out. I don't think
Yeah, I don't. I think that that
the whole
works,
way his
but
offense
doesn't.
works is building, establishing the run game, and then working play action and deep throws and deep passing game off of the play action because you establish the run game. The problem is they don't have a good offensive line. Therefore,
Yep.
they can't establish the run game. Therefore, they can't throw the ball. And therefore, they lose a lot of games just like they did last year.
Yeah. And I
So
mean, they got a pretty good linebacker room if you look at that. I mean, I really like that linebacker room. You you had a decent secondary when Ramsey was there. Who knows what the deal is with Ramsey, and you obviously had Holland. You're probably going to lose both those guys. You have bringing in a whole new, basically secondary here. Your defensive line does not look good at all.
And,
But then your offense is okay, but you have the question mark with Tyreek Hill with whatever the hell happened last year. And obviously Waddle kind of had a down year. A-Chain is who he is. And then Tua with just the question mark with the injuries. Like there's a lot of question marks here. And then that's not even talking about the offensive line yet.
I think
Um,
I think they did
what
a
do they
good
do?
job of drafting Patrick Paul in the second last year.
Yep.
You've got your replacement at left tackle. Um, I, I I like Eichenberg, I guess, for your left
Yeah.
guard spot. Other than that, I don't like Austin Jackson. He's not going to be very good. It's going
Yeah.
to be a bad thing if you trot him out there. Aaron Brewer, whatever,
James
fine.
Daniels is fine, but
He
I don't
is.
understand it. I really don't
I
like.
don't think I don't that's not a good offensive line. And so
Yeah.
if it was me, I'd pick an interior. What I think they're gonna do, I think they're gonna draft another safety.
Okay.
Um, it seems like they're either gonna go Starks or Eman Wari. Do they do the right thing and go back to the offensive line? Um, Booker could work here. They're not going to take any of those tackles. None of those centers are ready to go. Booker is the only thing that's stopping me from taking Eman
Yeah.
Ward. And I think he runs a zone scheme. I don't think he runs a
I don't know. Like, there's so many holes. Like, it's almost like also do you trade out and try to like get more picks? Because like there are a bunch of players here, but like
Yeah,
I don't see a
he
right
runs a
player.
zone. He runs a zone running concept. They're not taking Tyler Booker. He would be
Yeah. Like
terrible in a wide zone concept. So they're going to take a safety here. What do you think? You think they take Starks or you think they take Eman Wari?
I think I think they should take Starks, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to take Nicky Manworthy. Like I feel like that
You're too.
trajectory, you just lost Holland, you
Yeah.
replace him immediately, you kind of have a question mark with whoever they signed. I think it was Ashton Davis and somebody else. Like I think you just take the safety and I don't think that's a terrible pick. I think either one
Okay.
works.
Get
So
in there.
you tell me who you want.
I want Eman Wari. That's what I think
Let's do
they'll
it.
do.
Yeah, that's what I think they'll do
That's
as
what I think they'll do.
well.
That's not what I would do, but that's what I think they'll do.
I agree with that. I think if I was the Dolphins, I would honestly trade out. You gotta try and I don't even know, do something else with whatever they're trying to build. I don't know what they're trying to do. They're kind of caught in between, which is one of the worst places in the NFL to be
Yeah,
because they're not terrible every year.
yeah,
They're like in contention until the last few weeks when they're not.
yeah.
But at the same time, there's really no direction with the roster.
I
which
agree.
leads us to another team that doesn't really have direction with their roster, the Colts here.
Yeah.
Um,
This seems pretty straightforward.
yeah, I think this is very straightforward. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this. They needed a tight end. We're just going to make this really simple. It's going to be Colston Loveland.
Okay, well then let's talk about it. If
Yeah, let's talk about it.
What would you do if you were the GM? Since it's pretty obvious what they're going to do. Let's spend some
Yeah,
time with the Colts fans out there. What would
100%.
you do if you were the GM?
I think if we're looking at what the Colts need, and this really raised the biggest question marks. If we're looking at their free agents after next year,
Hmm?
this is the big thing that jumps on the paper. You got defensive end, defensive end,
Yeah,
defensive end,
yeah,
all these defensive ends, and then the next year, defensive tackle, defensive tackle. So you need a D lineman, in my opinion. Now, who do you take? That's the question. But I think the answer would be Shamar Stewart. If I was,
Mike Green's still on the board.
I think I know, I agree, but I feel like Shamar could potentially play that tackle, defensive tackle position
Yeah,
in a
you think
4-3
about
at the same time.
you think about Stewart and Latu.
Yep.
That's a tough one too. And like you said,
Yeah.
with people going out the door the next few years, having those guys both on rookie contracts, that's I like that. I like that a
I
lot.
think Latu last year was the reason why I didn't go edge here.
Yeah.
You trust your guy a little bit
Yep.
to be that top 15 edge rusher in the league. So that's why I kind of held me back. But obviously the glaring need with Loveland, I think that's match made in heaven. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones would definitely love him,
It's a heck of a
which leads
quarterback
us,
competition, man.
hell yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens there. But the Falcons now at 15 in a really premier spot
They
with
are.
the way that they've assembled
This
themselves.
worked out really well for them.
They passed on Dallas Turner last year at edge, and they took Michael Penix. That was the big thing. They needed edge last year. They didn't take him. They took the quarterback, and now with the way that they built their roster around it, and they have the young quarterback, they're in a prime position to do damage, especially in a weak NFC South.
Yeah,
So lead me down the path
yeah.
with
With
the
that
needs
being
at
said,
corner, the needs at defensive tackle, the needs at edge and safety and linebacker. It's an all defense, in my opinion, for the Falcons.
and with that being said, I'm taking Shador here at 15 for the Falcons. um,
That would be insane. The Falcons, they do these things every year. Crazy.
back to back. You get enough quarterbacks, one of them will be good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. This feels about as simple as the last one, like you said. I think it's going to be edge here. As long as Terrell's on the roster, I don't think they're going to take another corner round one. I know there's some question marks around him. You need edge so bad.
It's
Uh,
so bad.
you needed it last year, and it's bad. So it's going to be an edge here. Personally, I would take Mike Green. Mike Hell's really tempting
Yeah, from Georgia.
because he's from Georgia. Everything
Yes.
we're hearing is he's interviewing so well. Everybody loves this guy. He's so tradesy. Um, I'm gonna take Mike Green, but I think I wouldn't put it past Michael Williams here. But we're gonna roll with Mike Green again. Keep it simple. That's what I do, and that's what I think they're gonna do. So,
Awesome. Lock that pick in. On to the Cardinals. The
yep.
Cardinals, another interesting team. Kind of a lot of holes, but like there's a kind of a centered issue, and it's towards the defense,
Mhm.
mainly towards the defense. But you see what they did with their additions. They had some pretty good additions. I like Calais Campbell. I like Dalvin Thomason, Josh
Mhm.
Sweat, obviously.
Quite a
Like
lot. That's a good
they're
signing.
kind of building something, and I like it. They got Murphy Bunting and Buddha, who's kind of on his last legs here. Baron Browning. They took Darius Robinson last year in the first round.
I
So
like that
like
corner room too.
yeah, I like it. Like it's solid.
Max Melton's, I
So
think, should be good for them next year.
yeah,
You got BJ Ojolari. I don't know. I think this team's in a good spot.
I think they're in a good spot, but I think they should also add another guy. I don't think Calais may be a 1 or 2 year deal if I
Uh,
can remember. I don't know how much that's going to be, and then obviously at your nose, I don't know how long Dalvin's going to be there for. So that makes this really hard for me. it's between three players.
Okay.
I honestly think it's between, if we're looking at the board,
Bro,
I think it's Jade Barron.
T-Mac is still on the board.
T-Mac is still there, and they could do the impossible and
No, they
pair him
wouldn't
with
do that.
Parr. They
That's
wouldn't
just
do
a
that.
side, that's just a side note.
I think that is just three players. I think it's Jade Barron, and then I'm gonna go Jahad Campbell as a number two,
Yep,
and then
love
I
it.
think you throw in Jamar Stewart. I think you throw him in there. So
Yeah.
the question is, what do you do? Like what is more of a need? And for me, it's tough because you see the WLB right there. I'm not sure how much Akeem is going to play that role so well. I think
Yeah, he slots in really nice there.
you can plot in Campbell there, and then you would probably see Stewart in here as more of that defensive end. And then of course Barron being the nickel, but you like kind of Garrett Williams. I think it's between Campbell and Shamar Stewart, and I'm leaning Campbell,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's what I would do
I
too.
think that's the pick here. And I'm liking that pick, and I'm gonna go with that pick. Jahad Campbell. I think this is just a high character guy. He's just gonna be there for a while, and you can put him at middle linebacker too. You can do a lot of things with him. But I think he's best off the kind of edge. So I think you put him at that W spot. I'm gonna go Jahad Campbell right here.
That's great. I love it. I think I think that's probably what we would both do, and it's
Yep,
hopefully what they'll do too. So I
I
think
think that's the move. All right, Bengals.
now we got the Bengals here.
Ooh, I like this
Um,
one a lot.
this is tough. Again, all offense. Like, I mean, sorry, all defense, not offense at all. There's a
Yeah.
0% chance to take.
No, you cannot take
Can't
offense.
take
I mean,
offense.
you have to take with what happened last year. You have to. I
Yeah,
mean,
you got
you need, there's a pressing need at defensive end with Osai being your guy next to Hendrickson. I
yep,
mean, corners based on what they did, they have good defensive backs. DJ Turner's good, Cambert's good, Dax Hill's good, but like their numbers are not good, and what they did last year was terrible. So,
yep,
do you take the corner here with both of the top two cornerbacks being on the board? But at the same time, what's the deal with Hendrickson?
yep,
Like, there's so much going on.
yep.
So you tell me, you guide me.
You got Miles Murphy waiting in the folds. I think you
Yes,
have
I
your
like that pick a
interior.
lot
If
from
you are
2 years
inside
ago.
of the Bengals, I think you have hope that he's going to step up into that role and develop. He was always a developmental guy. I used a top 10 pick on him. I think he's going to be good in the future. So that kind of takes me away from edge. Um, I think you look at how important Jesse Bates was on that defense a couple years ago before he went to the Falcons. And when you let him walk, how big of an impact that made on your team, right? Um, I think you have to look at safety. So I think you've got Starks on your board here, and I think you really like the idea of Kenneth Grant
Okay.
plugging up the interior of that defensive line.
Yeah.
Um, I think you. I mean, I know you need a defensive lineman. I have Walter Nolan ahead of him. I don't know if the Bengals are going to take Nolan. I maybe they would go. Maybe they would go Nolan.
I think it's one of the
Yeah,
two for
I'm
defense. This,
between Nolan and Starks here. That's
yeah.
kind of I think I'm leaning Starks.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's tough because you got the two best corners on there too. And but at the same time, it's not really a pressing need at corner. But at the same
It's
time,
not.
what's the issue? Because they gave up so many yards last year. So
Yeah,
is it lack of pass rush or they just can't guard? And I
yeah.
think it was lack of pass rush. So like it's hard to not, but I agree with exactly what you said about Miles Murphy. I was so high on that man out of I think Clemson a few years ago. And I think he will ultimately step up and take Joseph Asai's spot at that defensive end, opposite side of Hendrickson.
I think I'm gonna go
So
Starks
I
here.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
I don't hate that at all. I think that's a solid pick for this team. They obviously need help back there, so
yeah.
let's go Starks.
Love it.
and it leads us to my
Here
Seahawks.
we
Oh,
go.
this is hard. Now, this my life becomes so much harder when you have
Yeah.
these players on the board. I
Oh,
mean,
T-Mac.
you got T Mac. Will Johnson's still on the board. I wouldn't take Barron because he's very much like Witherspoon, but
Yeah.
like he's still there. Um, and then of course the pressing need. You plug Tyler Booker in, and
Hmm.
hopefully that solves all your problems. So for me, it's between Johnson, T Mac, and Booker.
Yep.
Um, but I'm very tempted with Johnson. We don't necessarily need it, but Tyreek Woolen is.
He's had a rough year last year.
Yeah, he had a rough year last year, but he was so good. He's on obviously his last year of that rookie contract. So do you extend him? Do you not? You got to know. You got JSN, you got Witherspoon coming up the pipeline. Do you extend Walker? That whole 2022 draft class is holding up the 2021 one.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you do here? And I don't think that they're gonna go Will Johnson, even though that would be fire.
No.
Um, I think it's between McMillan or Booker, and
But Zabel, you don't think Zabel's in the fold here?
I think Zabel's in the fold. I just think it would be later. But at the same time, I'm gonna throw a curveball at the same time. I think there's too many good players for them to make a decision, and I think that we could trade back. I just don't know
Okay.
who. But I don't know if at the same time, what do we need to trade back for? We have 2 seconds. We got the second from the DK trade, and we got the third from the Geno. So they could honestly be a suitor to trade up into the first round, which is not something I hate at all. Um, with that being said,
Can I give you an idea?
yeah, what's the idea?
Broncos trade up to
Okay.
jump the Bucks,
Okay.
grab T-Mac.
Ooh. You
So
think the Bucks would?
I think they could take T-Mac as a Mike Evans replacement.
Okay.
And I think the Packers could look to get T-Mac. I think the Chargers could. I think y'all
I think
could.
just a trade up frenzy there. So yeah, let's make that trade. I like the trade a lot. We'll see if this is permitting.
They're both your team, so don't do
Yeah.
it
No,
excessively.
I like that a lot. I honestly, if there was anyone who was going to trade out, I think it would be Denver.
Yeah.
Um,
I
based
don't think it
on
costs that much either.
I don't think it'd cost that much, but we'll see what the machine
I don't
says.
know if you'd get a second.
You said this one?
I don't know if you
Or
would. I think you'd probably only need a third.
what did they say? There you go. I'll take that third round pick all day long, and then we're gonna have him take T Mac here. I think that's the right move.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, T Mac
I love
to
it.
the
That's a
Broncos,
great
and
pick for the
Seattle trades back.
Broncos.
Yeah,
You
that's great.
think of him getting his Sean Payton getting his weapon with T Mac.
Yeah,
That would be amazing for Bo Nix, young quarterback. Um, that would be awesome for them if they could figure
keep
out
them
and
building.
get a running back later in the draft, on the next day two or day three. So
And I think that's awesome for us too, because there's like, yes, we could take T Mac, but that's not what we need right now. I feel like, Cooper Cup, Jason, that's a pretty good duo. And then you can kind of build later in the draft with your picks. You got great value with your picks.
you
There's
got
some
two.
great
There's going to be
receivers.
plenty of X
Two
receivers.
seconds, two thirds. I think if we trade back here, we will be all right and still be able to land Booker, which will lead us into 19 here. You tell me what the Bucs would be thinking.
Yeah, I mean, you think about to go back to the Seahawks. You think about like a guy like Jaden Higgins in the second round, elite guy
Yeah. Oh
in
yeah.
the second round. Yo, like
Yeah.
to get that plus a third and Booker instead of T Mac, I think would be amazing. I think that
I
would be
think that's premier, and that'll be our first trade of the day.
yep.
Shocking, but
Yeah.
there you go. But
This
to
is
the Bucks now.
this feels stupid easy with Will
Yeah.
Johnson being here on the
Oh, I
board.
think so.
You got a need, you got to fit, and you got the right player. So check all three boxes, sprint that card in. You got a great corner. He fell. He's probably going to. This feels semi-realistic, although you and me are much higher on him than this range.
Yeah, for sure.
This feels very easy and very simple with Will Johnson here at
Will
19.
Johnson is a Buck.
I think the
Now,
Bucs.
before I make this pick, which I think is going to be obvious, I'm going to go Tyler Booker here. what if we just do something crazy and we just you never know what these teams are with their quarterbacks. Seattle met with Jalen Milroe. What if they just take him here? Honestly, like what if they just shock the world and just take
Oh
him here?
man,
Like like what would you be your thought process on that? We got
I
a
would
minute
be
left.
so happy if that's what
I would
happened.
be ecstatic, and
You
I
let
kind of
him
hope they
sit.
trade up.
Darnold's on a 3-year deal, right?
Yes, but the way that they position the money, fully guaranteed for 1 year, and if he does bad, they can basically get rid of him.
So I mean, if you let Milroe sit for 2 years, Darnold is his walks him through everything. You get rid of Milroe. I mean, you get rid of Darnold. You let him. Oh my gosh, that
I
would be.
want it so bad; it would be perfect. But they won't do that
It's your pick.
because
It's your pick, my man.
I don't think they'll do that. I think we got to predict it based on what we think's going to happen. That's if I was the GM, I'm picking Milrow.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be Tyler Booker out of Alabama.
You don't
Can't
think it's
complain with the
Zabel?
pick. I don't think it's Zabel. I think Zabel goes a little bit later. Maybe if we traded back, maybe if we traded up also. We
Okay.
could trade back up in this thing, but I don't think we'd do that. All right, so Tyler Booker to Seattle. All right, 21
Yep.
for the Steelers. How
Yep.
are we feeling?
This
This
is
is
the big one.
the big one that everyone is talking about.
Yep.
Is this that complicated in your opinion, PDunn? Like,
It's
what do
not.
the Steelers do here?
It's not. I remember. Tell me if this resonates with you at all. Bad quarterback class. Steelers picking somewhere in the 18 to 21 range, and they take a quarterback
I remember it. I
that
remember
fell
it all
that
right.
fell in the draft. Tell me if in the last few years that's resonated at all,
Yeah,
and
it
how did
has.
that work out for them?
He's now the quarterback of the Browns, right? Or so we
He
think.
is
I don't
now the
know.
quarterback of the Browns.
We're
So
not sure. Kenny Pickett.
yeah, I don't think that's this. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again.
Yeah,
Not to, you know, you can't draft with thought processes like that. So that was mostly a joke. But
yeah.
I don't think they're going to take Shador here. Um, if here, go back to the full big board rather than just that one. Shamar Stewart still here is interesting. I do think they need D tackle.
They need to
Um,
tackle. I think so.
they need D tackle bad. And Walter Nolan's still here.
Yeah.
Feels like I should probably run that in. Getting, you know, I think they're fine at corner.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be Nolan for me.
Okay.
I don't think this is a spot for Shador. I don't think they take Shador here.
Yeah, you draft Cam Hayward's replacement
Yep.
here in Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. I mean, the Shadur thing is tough. I think honestly, I personally believe that Aaron Rodgers will be a Steeler. Um, and I think I would also draft in that intention as well. I think it would be a great thing to have a quarterback go there that sits behind Rodgers. It may look like on paper. I think in the mocks, everybody's tweaking out because they don't have a quarterback on roster who's capable of being the starter. We saw the Mason Rudolph experience already after he got re-signed this year. But yeah, I don't think that there's a good enough one unless they love Milrow. This is another spot for him. Do you
Mhm.
love Milrow? Because I love the Steelers Milrow fit more
Yeah.
than the Seahawks one.
Yeah.
So like, do you take the risk and take him here? That's the question. That's the question that Tama needs to
If
know. But at the same time, you need that mentor. So they need to make sure they have Rodgers first before you draft Milrow
yeah.
because you cannot draft
Worst case,
Milrow and
the
play him.
worst case scenario is you trot him out week one.
You cannot.
You
Oh
just
man.
you basically throw his career down the drain.
That's Anthony Richardson 2.0. I mean,
It's like
oh,
Anthony
it's
Richardson
worse.
negative 2.0 because it's way
Yeah.
worse than Anthony Richardson. But yeah, me personally, I don't think Aaron Rodgers would be that great of a mentor at this part in his career.
I honestly don't think so either.
So
But
I don't think they're really considering that. Maybe if he's there in round two,
yes.
I don't think they're going to take that chance here. I think this is if Walter Nolan's here, I think Kenneth Grant you might look at. But I think Walter Nolan will be a Pittsburgh Steeler if he's available at the spot.
Yeah, I mean, they're running a 4-3 out there. Kenneth
Yeah.
Grant, more of that nose.
Yep.
They don't really need that nose, so you go with Nolan, who's kind of more versatile along that D line. I like that pick a lot.
Yep.
Um, Going there, and then we go Chargers, which is
Man,
also a defensive tackle
it
needing team
is.
potentially. They might need a tight end.
It's
Do they
also a
take
Shamar
another
Stewart
receiver?
spot.
Yeah, let's take a look at what this Chargers team really needs um after their free agency spending this year. Mekhi Becton, great pickup, by the
Yeah.
way. I mean, they picked up Conklin. That's a serviceable tight end. With the tight
Yep.
ends off the board, they're not going to take one here.
I agree.
However, I will say this. If for some reason Loveland does not go to the Colts and
I
he
agree.
starts to fall,
Totally.
you have that Jim Harbaugh tie
Totally.
with him recruiting him to Michigan.
Yep.
I think that's a slam dunk pick, but he's not there. So we're going to continue on. They took Najee Harris. They spent the money on him. They got back Mike Will. Can't hate on it. Dante Jackson, a pickup at corner. They lost Asante Samuel. You still can't believe he's not on the team yet. So is corner an option with the options that they have? Jade Barron is still there. Or do you go on the D line, which looks kind of weak?
I think you could go edge or
Yeah,
interior.
I
I
think I don't know. Edge
especially with
wise, you
letting
got
go
Khalil
Bosa.
Mack.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have Mac, you don't have Bosa. Like
this one's tough.
I think Shamar Stewart there is interesting. And I think you want to talk about a Michigan tie
Oh yeah.
like that would be a slam dunk being able to get him in there, fill up that defensive line, that interior, that defensive line.
And I'm gonna second that. That's gonna be the pick. I think that he's the pick
Grant,
here, Kenneth Grant. I didn't even think about that Michigan tie for a second, and I saw that they needed a nose. Yeah, it's gonna be Kenneth Grant here. I think he's got really, really good potential to
yeah.
be an absolute just bulldozer there, and you got some good pieces who will kind
He
of
is such a Jim Harbaugh player. He's such a
yeah.
Michigan
Oh
fan.
yeah.
He fit in perfectly into that.
So we go back to back D tackle here
Yep.
with Kenneth Grant, which leads us to the Packers. PDunn, which we got.
This feels very simple with Shamar
Yes, very.
Stewart still on the board. They love, they need an edge rusher. They love that build. You saw Lucas Van Ness go a couple years ago. You
Yep.
know they prioritize that position, and you know they prioritize that player.
And this
So
is something to watch also. I was looking at it the other day. Green Bay, what do they got coming up on the free agency? Oh, you got two defensive tackles
yeah,
here. You're losing two defensive tackles. The next year, you're losing your outside linebackers.
yeah,
And then the following year, there's your defensive tackle. I think it's got to be D line
yeah.
or corner. You could say corner if
You
the
definitely could say corner, especially
Alexander
yeah,
with Barron
especially
still
with
being
him
here.
possibly being on the move this offseason.
Correct. But he hasn't gone anywhere yet. So, like, it's getting
They
too
said that.
late.
Yeah, they said that last year too. So I
Yeah.
don't know what to believe. I definitely would not be shocked. I don't think it'd be Barron, but if they reached on a, I
They
mean,
love doing that.
Morrison could go here. I think
Harrison.
Harrison could go here. I think there's plenty of options that could go here at corner. It wouldn't shock me. Shamar Stewart being here just feels like a home run for them. I don't think he should be here. I don't think he will be here. But if he is
Yeah.
in the situation, they would sprint this pick in, I feel.
All day. Shamar Stewart. You are a Green Bay Packer. And that
Okay.
leads us. This is.
I got a trade up for you here.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
This is where I think the Giants come up and grab Shador.
Wow. Okay.
So
So
obviously,
big trade here.
from the Giants' perspective, it makes sense. But
Yep.
look at the minute the Vikings pick this year. They have four.
Oh, yeah. All day
There is
long.
no way they stick at this pick. They
Yeah.
would take
I
the
mean, I was
seventh
thinking,
round pick.
oh, Barron's there, but no, the picks, I didn't even
They
look at
have
that.
to get. You cannot
Even
have a
next year's too,
four-person
you
pick.
where are your mid round picks? Your
I
five,
don't
six,
know.
seven are not
Yeah,
there.
no, they have three sevenths, which don't even count. Like
Yeah,
this,
like
they need picks badly
yeah,
this year, and the
all
Giants need
day.
to go get their quarterback. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I think the Giants will come up. and trade. I don't think it would cost. I think it would probably cost a second to come up that much to move up 10 spots. I think they'd send over this year's second and then they'd come get or that third. Sorry, I did take that third round. Yeah, yeah, you got it.
We'll
Um,
see if it accepts it.
it's been rejected.
Yeah, interesting. Do you think they could give the second? Or sorry, yeah, that is the third
Yeah,
technically. Oh wait, I
yeah,
switched
yeah,
to the fourth. My
yeah.
bad.
Put
Yeah.
the keep the third in there, and then
That's like first two in the third.
where would we go? I
Uh,
lost the Vikings. Oh,
there
there
it
you
is.
go.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
these
put
two.
those
They
two and
gotta
24. That should work. Oh, all right.
oh
Well,
good. Well, it's our mock draft and it doesn't matter
in
about the
real
future
life, I think
picks.
that I don't think that.
I think
Yeah.
those picks are getting through. And Shadur Sanders, you are wow. So that's a pretty good draft. I'm not gonna hate. I mean,
No, if
if you
they
take a
could,
Shadur at
yeah,
three, no.
yeah,
But if you're taking
yeah.
Abdul Carter and Shadur, and he gets
Yep,
to sit behind Russell Wilson and Jameis,
yep,
they won the draft right there.
yep.
So Shadur Sanders,
I
wow,
think that's a very good
I love that.
for them if they could pull that off.
Gotta love it. All
Yep.
right, Texans on the board.
Texans on the board. So they let their entire they basically, if you think about the team building of the Texans home base, they just took a crane and dumped a trailer on top of the offensive line room and then
Yeah,
just completely eradicated it from the entire franchise. So they need an entire new offensive line. Um, I it's
they don't
I,
have terrible reserves like Cam Robinson. They just brought in Laken Tomlinson, Trent Brown, but like not
None
long
of those
term
guys are
answers.
starters. Howard
Yeah,
Titus
not
cannot trot out there at left guard.
yeah.
Cam Robinson, I think, can work this year. Blake Fisher, I like for the future. Jarrett Patterson, he's okay. Juice Scruggs, I have no idea how he's still in the league. Um, it's they need some more juice there. And lucky for them, my number 9 player in the draft is still
Oh,
there,
he's still
Josh
here, and he
Simmons,
played with CJ Stroud
and he
in
did.
college.
Yep.
So
I think it's perfect. If the medicals check out, which is a massive, we could not emphasize the if on that
oh
more
yeah,
because we know
massive.
nothing. It's a very, very, very serious injury for an offensive tackle. But if they check out, he's going earlier than this. But if he's still here, he's Josh Simmons. Texans is a slam dunk if
Slam
that.
dunk of the draft.
Yep.
Josh Simmons, Ohio State. You are now playing with your college quarterback,
Yeah.
and that brings on the Rams.
Yep.
Wow, Rams.
In a great spot.
They've been the last few drafts defense heavy
Mm-hmm.
in the first few rounds. I mean, you think of Fisk and Verse and
Yep.
all of the stuff that they've done. What if they shock the world here and take Dart? What are your opinions on that?
I love it. I thought they were going to do that last year. I thought last year they were going to go quarterback and shock the world.
Yep.
They didn't. I think this year there's a lot. I think Barron here makes a lot of sense.
I think Barron, honestly, like it's cool the Dart thing, but I can you remind what was the Stafford extension? Was it
It was not long term.
okay? Yeah.
And it's what was that extension? Let me
I don't
research.
know. It
Look at
was
their corner
something.
room. Talk to me about their corner room.
Their corner room, yeah. I mean, Akello Witherspoon, he's moved around Seattle, Pittsburgh, back with the Rams on like second or third stint. Darius Williams from a few years ago from Jacksonville.
Yeah,
Quentin Lake, I'm not sure that's ringing a bell. Kobe Durant, that rings a bell. That's really it. The main thing that Nickelback right there, Quentin Lake. Let's replace that with Jade Barron because I think that's ultimately the move here. That was him lasting until 26 is just unbelievable value.
yeah,
I think it's the pick here. I'm gonna go that right here.
yeah. I think that's the
Jade
right
Barron.
pick. The extension was a 3 year, $57 million
Yeah. So it's
extension.
kind of long. Like
It is, but I think it's
I don't
structured
know
the
how
way the
long.
Darnold
Yeah.
one was. There's no
Yeah.
way that pick that he's going to be around for another three
But
years.
there are some good, more Rams-esque quarterbacks later in this draft.
Oh, for sure. And when
You
you
can
have a
maybe take a Will
timeline,
Howard.
right? When you have a timeline extendable enough to 2 years with being in a McVay quarterback room, you know he's going to be a developed somebody.
Yes.
especially over that time period. So they're going to find their guy. I love a Quinn Ewers down the road. I feel like
Oh,
him
all day.
that would be amazing. They will have plenty of options to get a another quarterback to sit behind Stafford, and I think Jade Barron is would be fantastic in that Rams defense.
Great, great. I mean, that's another great pick. Something I don't want to deal with.
Yep.
But now the Ravens at 27, sitting pretty. What do they need? What do the Ravens need? They need kind of that interior corner and edge. I feel like the Ravens always need edge. They always take edge.
They
But I
always
also,
they
almost most importantly, they always come out with the best player in the draft
they do
every
they
year.
always take BPA, which happens
Always,
to line up with the fact that they could definitely use some more interior on the defensive line.
for sure.
Um, and Derek Harmon's still there, who's a
Yeah.
guy I like a lot. I think they could use another corner. Marlon Humphrey, I don't know how much
Honestly, yeah. I mean,
tread
he's
he
starting
has on
to.
those tires. You have
Nate
TJ
Wiggins looked good
Tampa.
last year.
Nate Wiggins looked great. They drafted TJ Tampa, and right after they drafted Nate Wiggins, I think they drafted
Yep.
him in the third round, which people forget about because he didn't have to
Yep.
play. I think he's probably their next guy.
They
So
they signed a Woozier. Like,
I don't think the corner's a huge need,
yeah,
especially with Derek Harmon on the board. Like I like the idea of them going interior here. I don't think edge is a huge need as much as the edge position. I have no idea how those guys are still on the board. This edge class is absurd.
it's absurd.
Um, but I think how is Michael Scorton, James Pierce, and Ezraku all still on the board?
It's
How's that possible?
unreal. It's the way the draft is, I guess,
It's
which,
crazy. This is going to be Harmon for me, although
yeah,
I think Scorton and Michael would both be fantastic in that system, but this is going to be Harmon for me.
awesome. Derek Harmon, you're raving. All right, now I feel like this is edge central here.
Oh, for
You
sure.
could go guard, but just with the value of the edge, it's
Yeah.
just pick the best one you like the most.
Yeah.
Um, and that's when you kind of got to figure out what plays well off of Aiden Hutchinson.
Hmm.
You have Marcus Davenport. You re-signed him. I honestly thought they'd move on from him um, after that 1 year deal last year. I'm not sure what the deal is now, but I mean, just the fact that this depth chart goes to five positions or players shows you how injured they were last year. They have depth, really. I mean, all over. This is a great defense. Player, player,
Yeah.
player,
Yeah.
player, 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 player,
Yeah.
player.
Yeah.
Like
It's
it's
pretty
it's
awesome.
solid, and even their seconds, like Rakenstraw here, and
Yeah. Rakestraw is
I
going to be
mean,
awesome.
I don't hate Pascal. I don't hate Levi. Like Jared Barnes, like the Rocky Scene all the way back here. Avonte Maddox, like these aren't terrible. So like, I think it's just more of like who's going to stand out from all this just stuff. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to be an edge.
I do.
At the end of the day, it's just honestly pick and choose. I don't think it's going to be Pierce.
I don't either.
I
He's
just
not
don't think Pierce
mine.
fits with this.
Mm-mm.
I think it's either for me, it's Mikel or Scorton.
Yep.
And it's just pick and choose which one you like better. What are you thinking?
I think Williams feels like more of a lion. Um, I know I don't think Scorton is interviewed poorly. I know he hasn't knocked the doors off with his interviews the way
Yeah,
Michael has. And
yeah.
Michael, as traitsy as he is, and as amazing as he's interviewed, he is such a Dan Campbell guy.
Dan
Uh,
Campbell loves that.
I cannot fathom a world where they get Michael across from Aiden Hutchinson. If they pull that off as scary hours for the rest of the league.
I mean, if we don't take him here, he may fall to the Eagles, and you know what happens with the
Yeah,
Eagles
that's a
with their
really
Georgia
bad
guys.
scenario. Yeah.
So we're gonna take him right here, and get that out of the way, so we don't gotta worry about that. Michael Williams to the Lions, and that's gonna bring up another edge needy team.
Yep.
Um, the Commanders. What
Yep.
do you do here? I mean, you need edge, but you also need defensive back, maybe a linebacker, maybe a receiver.
You really need corner.
Yeah,
Um, you need corner really bad. I know they traded for Lattimore, and that didn't go well. He played terrible for them when he came over from the Saints last year. So
yeah,
they need a corner. You really like Sandstrill, the
he's
rookie
a
out of Michigan.
baller.
He played fantastic last year. Bobby Wagner, dude's never going to
He's great.
retire.
He's great.
He's so good.
He's so
Um,
good.
but they need corner really badly. And you're lucky. You've got Harrison here. You've got Trey Amos here. You've got BMO here. You've got a great selection of corners. Um, I still think they would go edge in this position.
I think
Um,
just for value, like
with
you can't pass up on these edge dudes.
can't and this you've got a great. I don't think Scorton will go. I know you and me are very high on him.
I'm very high on
I
him.
don't think he would go here. I think this would be between Pierce and Ezraku.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be Ezraku.
Yeah.
I think if I was to guess what they were going to do, I would guess they would go Ezraku here.
I
I
don't hate
think
that pick at
very
all.
polished. I think he's less athletic, or not less athletic. I think he's a downgrade of what Latu was last year. Latu
Yeah.
was last year. And I think you take that and you love that, and he's probably one of your best edge rushers, if not your best edge rusher immediately.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you have solid defensive ends. You have Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell. There's solid defensive ends. Dietrich Wise, solid. But like, you don't got that pass rushing specialist on this defense, and
exactly.
that's what you really need.
And that's what he
I
is.
like,
He's going to
yeah,
be a
exactly.
fantastic pass rush specialist. He's got great plans. He's got great hands. He's very smart. Wins with his head, wins with his hands. You just love getting him in there, letting him run
Oh
up the
yeah,
bounds, and he's gonna get you out of a lot of situations. So I love that pick for
yeah.
them. I think he's gonna be fantastic.
Lock it in, Commandos, and that brings us to Buffalo. Now, still Jackson Dart still on the board
Yeah.
at number 30 here, which is crazy. I mean, so much value here. What
Do you
happens
think
here?
do you think somebody's calling?
I think someone's calling, and that's what I'm alluding to when I bring this up. I think the team that is calling, they don't need to call, but they need a call to block anybody else from calling,
Okay.
and that's the Cleveland Browns. I
Okay.
think that even if they go with the plan that I say with the Kirk Cousins,
Yep.
you need a replacement. The Deshaun
How
Watson thing's
how
not
much
happening.
better would you feel if you're a Cleveland Browns fan and you go into week one next year and Kirk Cousins is trotting out there with Jackson Dart sitting on the bench?
Dude, that would make
Feel
me feel a
amazing.
lot better than the
Yeah.
hell that they have been brought upon. And
Yes.
that's a lot better than trotting out what they've done 41 times,
Yeah.
which is trotting out just a white quarterback who's very just inexperienced and
Yep.
just let's try something different. Let's sit him. I honestly, for the Bills, I don't think there's anything that kind of pops out. They need a defensive
They need
tackle. All the defensive tackles were gone.
they
All
need
the
a
corners are
corner.
gone.
Yeah.
So like they can get this value 3 picks later
Exactly.
and go get their guys. That's why I think this is such a good pick rather than the Chiefs or the maybe Eagles.
Yep.
Also the urgency to jump all those teams. That's
Yep.
why I'm going Bills here. And Cleveland, it should not take much. I mean, what do you think it'll take?
I mean, I'd start with the fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'd probably start with 94. And if
Yeah.
that doesn't go through, yeah,
Yeah. There you go.
I figured that
All
would.
day long. I think this is the slam dunk pick.
Yep.
Jackson Dart. I think
That
that's
that is
probably
a
his best
great pick.
fit. I think it's a great pick for them. That's a great draft for them, just like the
Yep.
Giants.
Just like the Giants.
Travis Hunter and Jackson Dart, and then Abdul Carter and Shadur.
Yeah.
Those two teams cannot be mad.
Yep.
Which takes us to the Chiefs, lost in the Super Bowl, but you know what they do every year. I don't even know how they get there, but they do it
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
So they always pick here in the last two. They've done it the last 4 years. I don't know how much value, honestly, they've gotten out of their bottom first round picks, besides maybe Worthy last year.
Yeah.
So what do they do here with what they need on this, I guess, slightly revamped team, slightly aging team? They
Hmm.
don't need a receiver.
I think this is a run in at tackle, and I think it's Josh Connerly. You look at that left tackle spot, Jalen Moore. I don't think you want to trot him out at left tackle next year. Left tackle was so bad last year. You tried to start Kingsley Suamatae out there, who was your draft pick from last year in the second round. It didn't work. You had to start Joe Tooney at left tackle, who was your guard. That didn't
Yeah,
work.
that
I mean,
was
he was good, but you don't want to put your guard at tackle who's made to play guard. They need
I think
somebody.
also the trade with the Bears shows how much they must trust him because they did not get a lot in return. I think they got a fourth
Yeah,
for Thuney. I mean, like you trust Kingsley
yeah,
at left guard,
yeah.
obviously, and then obviously enough to go get another left tackle in free agency
Yep.
with Jalen Moore. So yeah, I like it.
I think this is a very easy Josh Connolly spot for me. I think there's a big gap between him and the next few tackles.
Yes.
And I think I've been mocking this for a long time, and I'm not
Yeah,
going to quit now. If he's here, he will be a Kansas City Chief.
what it should be. And there go all the tackles. Top five
Hmm.
tackles in 2025 NFL draft are off the board, which leads us to our last
Yep.
pick.
Wrap it up.
So do we like do
Oh
something
my
crazy
gosh.
now? Do we do the
If
crazy?
they get James Pierce,
I
man,
mean, it's unbelievable. The Eagles every year. I mean, it's
yeah.
almost like you get more value and the picks become easier when you have those late round picks.
Oh, for sure.
So it should be that. Is there anybody do you think that could be calling up for whatever reason that could make it worth it for the Eagles to
What?
not take James Pierce?
I don't think anybody's going to trade up into the first round because of that steeper price tag. So I don't think the Eagles are moving here.
Yeah, I think the Eagles will stay. James Pierce being there is just I mean, let's just take a quick glance at just this Eagles defense that every draft they add to. Um, and they don't need to add to the offense because of their established receiving core. Obviously, they have Saquon Barkley. I mean, you have your quarterback, you have your tight ends. They're really high on Grant Calcaterra. Like your offensive line is the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then you just look at your defense and you just look at Jordan Davis is about to be his third year. Jalen Carter, what is it,
Yeah.
second?
That's what I would say. I'm worried they
Third.
lost Milton Williams last year.
Yes.
And he was a big part of that interior. You look outside of those two Georgia boys, they're not very confident. Gabe Hall was a late round pick out of Oregon last year. I don't think
Yep.
it's ready for him to step into that number 3 role. So but that's the thing, all the defensive tackles are off the board. We just got
Yeah.
Palmer off the board to the Ravens. That's usually what I do here. You're not taking Orman, the normal Orman lot here. You're not
Yeah.
taking,
I mean,
um,
you solidified your corners last year with
yeah,
Quinion and Cooper. Like, you don't need safeties. Like, this is like, there's one spot that the Eagles can pick here, and it's edge. It
yeah,
really is. I mean,
yep.
Nolan Smith, solid. Bryce Huff also is there. Like, Joshua Uche right there also. Like, but on the other side, I mean, they still signed Azeez Ojulari, but Jackson Hunt, like, I don't know. I feel like you could slot James Pierce at
Hmm.
right outside linebacker or even at defensive end if you don't like what Mora Ojimo is doing. But they still have Byron. This team is so deep. This
I
team
know,
is
man.
has been built like a dynasty,
Howie
and they will
Roseman is
sustain that.
putting on a
He's
master
he's
class.
he's a masterclass, and
Hey, you want to know something crazy? Guess who has the most amount of draft picks with this year and the next year's draft?
the Eagles.
Eagles.
That's just
Not
unreal.
only
Like
are
I
they
don't.
rich, they have the most draft picks to spend over the next 2 years. It's
It
crazy.
reminds me of my OKC Thunder, what they're doing right now with all those picks and the run that they're going on.
Yeah.
You can just continue to just keep going
Stockpiling. Crazy.
on and on and on. But without further ado, the final pick, it's going to be James Pierce. I mean, that's
Yep.
just if anybody takes a gamble on guys with character issues or anything like that, it is the Eagles with the whole Jalen Carter situation, and that paid off. Let's do it again. I
Yep.
say we do it again.
I love it.
So that is the conclusion of our draft. Wow. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, how are we feeling after round one? I mean, you still got guys still on the board. I mean, it's crazy how much value is in this first round.
It is, and it's crazy. You look at, I think you start at 9, right? You look at the player Kelvin Banks is, and then you look at players that are still on the board with
Yeah,
Gray Zabel and Nick Scorton. And the difference between that guy and that guy is like this big.
it
Like
really is. It's
depth
just what you
between
prefer.
the depth between 10 and like 35 in this draft class is so small. Like this draft class is weirdly deep in a way because it doesn't have, outside of those top three players, there's a big gap between the top level and that mid-level talent, but there's a lot of mid-level. There's so many starters in this class that are going to be starting in the league for a long time. And I'm very happy with how we did. I think we killed this. I like a lot of these landing spots. I think we did a very good job. This is very realistic.
I think
Uh,
it's realistic and also like it's very anticipatory of just the wackiness of it. Like Ashton Jenny going at 5 is
yeah,
something that would happen in the draft. Like
yeah,
is just some wacky thing that would happen, but it's also not too far fetched. Like, and you can just see the downfall and just the complete difference with Mason Graham falling, Armand going 6, and things like that. I think the mid rounds we really nailed.
oh, for
That's
sure.
just how it's going to do. But at the beginning, like there's going to be this stockpile at the beginning. I think we nailed the first 4 picks, which unlike really other drafts that we have covered, it's been really hard to nail those picks. It's always been a question. I think it's a consensus this year.
I do
If
too.
done rightly, as a GM, this is exactly how it should go.
Yep.
Um, the minute 5 hits, that's when everything goes. But there hasn't been a draft in a long time where the first 4 picks have hit. So we'll see if that does. Our number last year was 7. We had 7 correct players to teams.
I would be
And then I think
shocked if we don't kill that number this
we
year.
got to kill that number.
Yeah.
We have 7, and we're going to get 4 of the first 4 picks. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was 11 correct numbers of
Mhm.
players. So not the same team, but 11 of the correct numbers.
Yeah.
So we that's going to be a little bit harder. But I mean, I think the correct picks, I think you're looking at 1 through 4. I think you're
Yep.
looking at, for me, number 8, I feel like they just love Jalen Walker. I
Yep.
feel like
Me too.
number 10, I feel like if Genty's not there, Hampton is going to the Bears, whether that's at
Same thing
number
with
10 or
11.
traded back.
If Mason Graham's there at 11, like they're
Yeah,
taking him.
they're taking him. Colston is
Golden,
definitely going.
Colston's a
Gol-
lock at
yeah,
14.
Golden is like
Golden feels really good at 12.
yeah. Mike Green, come on.
I feel fantastic about this.
Yeah, I really
Fantastic.
do. Um, maybe just like defensive tackle swapped around, but like we're gonna get the position right too. Tyler Booker, I mean, come on, that's what you need. Seattle, please take him. Um,
One other thing I'd want to touch on is, the Vikings and the Bills both traded out of the first round.
yeah, so let's
Uh,
let's let's do that.
I think it's very simple for both of them because I think they're both
Bills,
draft the corner.
Bills on the
Bills,
clock.
Bills. I think you know you can chime in if you don't agree with this. I think they're taking Maxwell Harrison.
Yeah.
If he's there, I think that's going to be a great pick for them.
Oh yeah.
He fits their mold. He fits what they do. He fits their scheme. He could go as high as 19 to the Bucs, and I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't blink an eye. He's a fantastic athlete, best 40 at the combine. He's going to fit in really well with that Bills defense.
I think they're gonna try and do what they hoped again. What they hoped with Tyre Alam a few years back out of Florida. That did not really pan out as the way that they wanted.
Yeah, he's with
But
the
I think
Cowboys,
that
right?
yeah, I don't know. He
I
went
think yeah,
somewhere
he's with the
recently.
Cowboys now.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna swing again. I think trading out ultimately is the move.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean,
Same thing with
and
the
then of
Vikings.
course Vikings.
I think they'll take a corner. I think they need a corner. You feel really good about where everything else is offensively. You brought back Aaron Jones. Um, you feel really good about your tackles. You feel really good about the offense, receivers, quarterback with JJ McCarthy. I think corner is your biggest need, and I think they knocked that out and accomplished that with whether Benjamin Morrison, whether it's Maxwell Harrison, if he's still available. Trey Amos, I think, would be a guy they'd like. Darian Porter is going to go early just because he's so athletic. And then Azaria Thomas, I think, is a guy that is going to be fantastic coming out of Florida State too. So there's so much corner depth in that second round. Obviously,
Yeah.
my preference is Benjamin Morrison. I have him just outside of my top 15, so I think he's fantastic. But
Oh, I love that man.
yep,
And I think another thing. we didn't intend to do it like this, but we also get kind of like we get the team right with Shadur or Jackson Dart. I don't think they're going to go 2-3. However, if they do, we kind of get a little extra points there for
Yeah.
predicting that. But it just that's just how the draft falls. And I do think that if either team comes out with a top three player and a quarterback of the future to sit behind their guys, I think
Yep.
they did a fantastic job. If Joe Shane walks away with Shadur Sanders and Abdul Carter, I will give him all of his points
Yeah, he
back.
might have saved his job if he ends up
Yeah,
doing that.
I think it's about time he does something like that if he wants to keep his job. Yes, he's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Yes, you cannot take a developmental quarterback at number three because you're on the hot seat. But why don't you go trade up for him? I mean, you may not even live to go see
Yeah.
those picks next year
Yeah.
or this year, whatever you give away. Like, go make the move for Shadur Sanders. You're not trading far. You're the second pick in the second round. Like, go get it.
Yeah. I love it.
I don't hate it at all. So that'll be the conclusion of our 2025 joint mock draft. PDunn is so much fun. Great
Yeah.
to see you.
Man, this
I
was a blast.
love this. We're gonna do this constantly. We're gonna
Yep.
keep going with it until obviously our road to GM.
Yep. There we go.
And it was great. It was just great doing it with you. We'll have to tune in tomorrow.
Yep.
ESPN, we'll see what they do with their picks with the 2025 NFL draft. Niko Chambers here, signing off. Thank you, P Dunn.
Yep.
Have a great night.
Yep. See you, man.